Chapter 721, Howard Stark's inheritance returned to its original owner. Fox, Aaron called out, waving his hand. The holy dragon, dressed in a light yellow plaid shirt, leaped into his arms, while the phoenix flew over and perched firmly on his shoulder. "Oh," Stark exclaimed, his mouth agape. "Your two pets seem to have high IQs." "They're not that low," Pepper interjected with a slightly unnatural expression. "I just walked into the main hall of Pepsi House and saw Abe lying on the sofa watching TV." "Then you shouldn't be so surprised," Tony replied. "Have you ever seen a cat that can change channels automatically?" Pepper's eyes twitched slightly. "And it even knows how to rewind." "Both Abe and Fox have been professionally trained. Their IQs are definitely higher than those of police dogs," Aaron explained. Abe and Fox exchanged a glance, momentarily stunned. Comparing them to police dogs felt like an insult. "All right, can we focus on something new?" Tony suggested. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Tony instinctively turned his head to look. Standing outside was Coulson, carrying a box, with Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., right behind him. "What are they doing here?" Tony muttered. "I don't know. Maybe they're here to see you," Aaron replied, glancing at the box in Coulson's hand. When he saw the name on it, a hint of amusement played at the corner of his mouth. Nick Fury's timing was impeccable. Pepper walked over and opened the door for them. "Coulson, long time no see." "Good afternoon, Miss Potts," Coulson greeted with a kind smile. "This is our S.H.I.E.L.D. director. We're here specifically to provide help to Mr. Stark." "Help? The contents of this box might be of some assistance to him," Coulson said, patting the box. "It took a lot of effort to sort it all out, because it dates back quite a while." Thank you," Pepper replied, still feeling a bit unclear. "Miss Potts, can we speak to Aaron and Mr. Stark alone?" Coulson requested. "Pepper," Tony nodded at her, "you can go out first." "Okay, no problem," Pepper agreed, leaving the office. Nick Fury and Coulson walked in, with the former sitting on the sofa comfortably while the latter placed the box on the coffee table. "We met here last time," Nick Fury began. "And my answer is still the same," Tony said impatiently. "I don't want to join your superhero boy band." "I remember, you prefer to work alone," Nick Fury smiled, then turned his attention to Aaron. "Don't you have anything to say to the director?" "Director Fury," Aaron greeted with a slight smile. "The last time I saw you was through a video call on Coulson's phone. Is it because I don't let you report to headquarters, or is it because you don't want to go?" Nick Fury asked, feigning anger. Aaron shrugged, speaking bluntly. "If it wasn't absolutely necessary, I wouldn't even want to sign a contract with S.H.I.E.L.D. "Is that a contract? It's more like a partnership," Nick Fury rolled his eyes. "You are now S.H.I.E.L.D.'s sole supplier of special drugs." "S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't at a disadvantage," Aaron pretended to be reluctant. "If Director Fury doesn't want to, you can give me a note and fire me unilaterally." "It's not that simple. Even as a non-staff member, you're still part of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury said, suppressing his frustration. Firing Aaron was easy, but getting him back would be difficult. Besides, if he dismissed Aaron, the supplier of special drugs, many within S.H.I.E.L.D. would likely complain. All right, Tony interrupted. "Let's get to the point. What are you doing here?" "We're here to help you solve the problems caused by that," Nick Fury pointed to Tony's chest. "Palladium poisoning is not pleasant." "It seems a lot of people know about it," Tony frowned. "How do you know?" "S.H.I.E.L.D. has no shortage of experts. We've been monitoring your situation. It wasn't hard to analyze," Nick Fury explained. "But we also did something else." As he finished speaking, Natalie walked in from the door and sat next to Nick Fury naturally. Seeing this, Tony's eyes widened. In surprise, Tony seemed to understand something. "You're fired. It's not up to you to decide. Miss Potts is the CEO of Stark Industries." "Tony, this is Agent Romanoff, Natasha Romanoff," Nick Fury introduced. "I'm an undercover agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. When we found out you were sick, Director Fury sent me to observe you," Natasha explained. "You better apologize to me," Tony demanded. "You should be thanking me," Natasha retorted. "I arranged for S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to delay your time in Monaco." Tony smiled disdainfully. He had made enough preparations before going on stage. Even without the 10-second delay from those agents, he could have dealt with Ivan Vanko. "You really went to great lengths to get me to join your group of superboys," Tony scoffed. "Make no mistake," Nick Fury's tone grew more serious. My world does not revolve around you, and the real world is not as peaceful as it appears on the surface. Tony Stark, the reason you can play Iron Man so well is because S.H.I.E.L.D. is working hard to maintain a superficial balance. But beneath the calm surface, the undercurrent is more turbulent than you might imagine. What is the world really like? Aaron asked curiously. Want to know? Nick Fury leaned back. This is information that only Level 9 agents have the authority to inquire about. Aaron smiled and asked no more questions. He wouldn't completely bind himself to S.H.I.E.L.D. just for a little bit of information, and he didn't think S.H.I.E.L.D.'s information was complete. Natasha told me that you had tried every possible combination of elements and could not find a substitute for palladium. That's when I knew it was time to hand over the contents of this box to you, Fury said, handing Tony a box with his father's name on it. New element? Tony wondered aloud. How is it possible? But it is possible, and you are the key to the new element, Nick Fury said meaningfully. The thing on your chest is based on unfinished technology. No, it's a finished product. It worked after I shrunk it down, Tony insisted. No, your dad said that the arc reactor is just a springboard for greater technology. He was preparing to launch an energy competition that would leave all his opponents in the dust. His dream was even bigger. The nuclear reactor would be as small as an AA battery in comparison. Was it just him? Tony asked. Anton Vanko was also involved. Anton Vanko was like the other side of the coin. He thought that was the way to make a fortune. Your father deported him when he found out. When the Russian government discovered he couldn't deliver, they sent him to Siberia. He then lived a life of drunkenness and dreams for the past 20 years which was not very good for the growth of children, Fury explained. Chapter 722, Compass Finds Clues, the design blueprint left by his father to his son, page 12. This is the explanation you wanted. Any questions? Nick Fury asked confidently. He wasn't sure if Tony believed him, but he believed it himself. Tony looked at the box labeled Howard Stark on the coffee table and sighed deeply. No problem. Natasha will continue to work undercover at Stark Industries, and Coulson will stay to supervise your work. You can't go anywhere until you find the new element, Fury continued. Restrict my freedom? Tony curled his lips disdainfully. Why should I listen to you? Because every second you waste is destroying your body, Fury replied. We have cut off all communications and cannot actively contact the outside world, Natasha added. I wish you good luck. Tony pursed his lips, looking a bit unhappy, but he didn't say anything more. Gaius, Nick Fury turned his attention to Aaron. Can you tell me how many potions you can prepare? Director Fury, your question is quite amusing. You might as well ask Tony Stark how he made his arc reactor. Do you think he will answer you? Aaron retorted. No, I would just put on the armor and throw him out, Tony interjected. I heard that, Aaron said, spreading his hands. The number and effects of the potions I can prepare are the biggest secrets of a pharmacist. I have no reason to tell you. If the director must resort to clever means, I, an ordinary person, can't do anything about it. But I can tell you in advance that even if you get the formula, it won't help. And for violating personal property, I guarantee that you will receive a summons from the court, and Stark's legal team will fight the lawsuit on my behalf. S.H.I.E.L.D. is not so devoid of moral bottom lines, Nick Fury interrupted. Let me put it another way. Can you prepare other potions that are beneficial to agents? Ah, Aaron frowned slightly. Magic potions such as Polyjuice Potion, Veritaserum, and Invisibility Potion are all of great use to agents, but he wouldn't be able to prepare them in a short time. Seeing Aaron's hesitation, Nick Fury's one eye narrowed. We can buy them at a high price. This is not a matter of money. The main issue is that I don't have that much energy. Just selling 5 potions to S.H.I.E.L.D. consumed a lot of my time, and hair growth agents, antidotes, and the like are not very important, so I simply don't let them appear on my medicine shelf. Hair restorer? Coulson murmured subconsciously, then noticed everyone's eyes on his hairline. Is it wrong that I care about this? Please understand. You really need this potion, Tony said, suppressing a smile. I will consider matching it for you, but the price is not cheap. You'd better be mentally prepared, Tony reminded. Aaron is not the kind of person who doesn't charge a premium. Ha ha! Aaron raised his eyebrows. I can also prepare a medicine that can enhance a man's ability in that area. Puff, Tony coughed. How much can it be enhanced? Don't get me wrong, I'm asking this for Rhodes. He used to date someone, but he didn't know until the end that the other person was a man, so he felt a little inferior. Rhodes, 1 bottle adds an hour without any side effects. I'll make a reservation, Tony said, showing his wealth. Who makes me his good brother? Shh! Aaron gave him a blank look. What else are you pretending to be? You might as well write heartbeat on your face. Director Fury, I completely understand what you mean. How about this? If I prepare a new potion one day, I will notify S.H.I.E.L.D. first. Okay, that's all, Nick Fury said, looking at his watch. It's time for me to leave. Tony, remember, I will keep an eye on you. With that, Nick Fury turned and left, with Natasha following. Tony looked at Phil Coulson, who stayed behind. First of all, I need to do physical training. I will work in the laboratory for a while. It would be better if you could send your men to the cafe. This is not my responsibility. Director Fury ordered me to use any means necessary to keep you here. If you try to leave or play any tricks, I will stun you with a stun baton and watch you drooling on the ground while I watch TV, okay? I think I understand. Enjoy your entertainment tonight. Coulson shook hands with Tony and left the room immediately. Tsk! Aaron couldn't help but curl his lips. You can't help but leave them. They can't intercept my communications, but forget it. Finding new elements is more important. Besides, it's not just me that Coulson is spying on. You should be involved too. Tony smiled meaningfully. They want to see how you find new elements. Aaron snapped his fingers, a playful smile appearing on his lips. My method is very simple, metaphysics. Is it still divination? Tony raised his eyebrows slightly. But can't you only do divination for one person once a year? Are you planning to break the rules? The rules are all set by me. There is no such thing as breaking them. Just looking for things. There is no need to use divination, Aaron said, taking out Captain Jack's compass from his pocket. It can find anything you want. What? Is this a compass? This is not an ordinary compass, but a unique treasure in the world. Aaron opened the cover and said seriously, It will not point out the direction, but as long as you hold it and pray to heaven with a pious heart, the pointer will guide you. Tony took the compass from Aaron's hand with some suspicion. I want a bottle of wine. The pointer immediately turned and pointed at the wine bottle on the coffee table. Oh, Tony's eyes flashed with surprise. I want new elements. As he finished speaking, the compass needle began to turn, but it turned several times without stopping. Instead, it moved back and forth between Tony and Howard's boxes. I seem to believe it, but what does this mean? It means that the new element does not exist yet or has not been created, and you and this box are the key to creating it. Good guy, this compass is amazing. How much? Not for sale. I'll rent it. Isn't that okay? Tony quickly changed his words. No. Aaron took the compass back, leaving no room for discussion. If this thing falls into the hands of someone with evil intentions, even one day will be a disaster. Tony was immediately unhappy. Am I that kind of person? Am I that unreliable? You're not. At least you won't do anything bad with it. But the compass will be stolen within 3 days of being in your hands. Don't deny it. A S.H.I.E.L.D. agent can lurk beside you for so long without being discovered. If another spy comes one day, can you keep it? Chapter 723. So many just things added up to one piece. A hammer fell from the sky. Page 1. Edwards Air Force Base. Rhodes carefully removed the arc reactor from the chest of the Mark II suit. The major standing beside him eyed the glowing white object with curiosity. Is this their energy source? He asked. Major, this isn't a science experiment. Just focus on loading the weapon, okay? Rhodes replied. Yes, sir. Okay, great. Is today my birthday? A cheerful voice called out from a distance. Hammer approached with a lollipop in his mouth, followed by 2 soldiers pushing boxes. His face was full of joy and excitement as he reached the Mark II suit. No, what did you do? Is this what I think it is? Hammer exclaimed. Yes, Rhodes confirmed, crossing his arms. Hammer, I want to know what you can do for us. What do I want to do for you? First, I want to upgrade the software, and then I think it should... That's not what I'm talking about, Rhodes interrupted. I'm talking about firepower. Then you've come to the right person, Hammer said, crunching the lollipop in one bite. He signaled the soldiers to open the box full of weapons. A 9mm semi-automatic pistol, he announced, holding up the gun. Neither Rhodes nor the Major seemed impressed. Hammer continued. A bit rustic, I agree. He placed the pistol on the table and picked up a shotgun. M24 shotgun, manually loaded, 5 rounds per magazine. Seeing the disdain on their faces, he added, "You're not hunters, so I'll just toss this aside." Next, he picked up a submachine gun. This is an FN 2000 submachine gun made in Belgium. The Belgians don't just make waffles. He pulled the bolt, producing a satisfying click. It's wonderful, but you don't seem excited, so I'll set it aside. This is a 40mm caliber grenade launcher that can fire tear gas and smoke bombs, Hammer said, noting their impatience. It's specially used to deal with hippies. Your standards are high. Let me tell you, size matters. Don't believe anyone who says otherwise. Hammer put down the grenade launcher and pulled out the largest weapon from the box. This is the M134 machine gun with 6 barrels. It's so powerful that our people nickname it Italian Soup or the Magic Dragon. Rhodes and the Major nodded slightly, but remained noncommittal. Okay. A trace of embarrassment crossed Hammer's face. He put down the machine gun and picked up a small box. These are top-quality Cuban cigars, Cohibas and Monte Cristos. He opened the box and took out a missile the size of his thumb. Sidewinder missile, containing cyclotrimethylene trinitramine. It's enough to blow up a bunker, and the bunker's hidden underneath. If it were smarter, it would write its own book, more complex than Ulysses, and read it to you. This time, the two officers finally showed some interest. The weapons Hammer had presented so far were decent, but lacked novelty. They had never seen this Sidewinder missile before, and it looked incredibly powerful. This is my Eiffel Tower, my Rachmaninoff's Third Symphony, my classic. Hammer praised the weapon in his hand. It's elegant in shape and incredibly beautiful. It can level any building. I named it Ex-Wife, and it's my best weapon. Rhodes touched his chin, deep in thought, while the Major looked at him in confusion. If you are still not satisfied with this, you can only say that. Your commander's vision is too high. Do you want it or not? Give me a hint. You're like the Sphinx, and I can't solve your mystery. I want it, Rhodes said. Which one? All of it. In the laboratory, Tony Stark was engrossed in watching a video left by his father, Howard Stark, when his phone rang. It was Rhodes. Man, I'm busy creating new elements, Tony exclaimed. I know, and I hate to disturb you, but something serious has come up, Rhodes replied. Didn't those annoying politicians stop talking? I have to admit, the military's efficiency is impressive. Less than a day after the Mark II was sent out, they all went silent. Till, I feel a bit unsatisfied. Can you talk to your general and ask the congressman who demanded I hand over Iron Man at the hearing to give me an award? Tony Stark deserves recognition for contributing to world peace. Rhodes couldn't help but laugh on the other end of the line. That depends on your performance. Honestly, I think he was very unhappy. But let's get to the point. I have some bad news for you. Oh my God! Man, it's only been a day. Even if your military doesn't thank me, you can't look so grim. No, this isn't about the military. It's about Iron Man. The general wants me to stand in for Justin Hammer in the suit at the Stark Expo. Tony immediately sat up straight. What? I know it's hard to accept. It's not just hard to accept. It's absurd to have my Mark II cheerleading for a clown. This is an order, Tony, and I can't refuse. Okay, Tony took a deep breath. What kind of junk technology is Hammer going to display at the booth? You must know this, right? Iron Soldier, Rhodes said helplessly. Tony was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. Don't be ridiculous. Don't I know the level of Hammer Industries' steel soldiers? It's a miracle the armor developed by his company hasn't killed the pilot. Where did he get the nerve to put a bunch of useless decorations on stage? What do you think? Rhodes asked. Shit, so you weren't just a cheerleader in the past, you were covering for Hammer Industries' incompetence. You could say that, Rhodes admitted. It's not that I'm a bad person, but I know better than you how unreliable Hammer is. The military will definitely lose money if they trade with him. I can't control that, Rhodes sighed. I'm calling to give you a heads up so you don't get so angry that you drive your armor over and scold me on the spot while watching TV. Am I that petty? You are, Rhodes said confidently. considering there are too many civilians at the expo, otherwise you'd probably beat me up. Haha, when you're done being a cheerleader and come to my place, I promise I won't beat you to death. Chapter 724, Bad Prophecy, the water content of Thunder God's power. Click, click. Aaron blinked blankly and said with a dumb smile, "What kind of truth is this? Am I still responsible for the pictures I divined? I'm not putting you in charge, but you're a consultant, aren't you? This is not fieldwork. You can understand it as academic research. We may need to use your professional knowledge. Do the things falling from the sky have anything to do with my major?" Aaron scolded angrily. "If you encounter any strange animals or plants, I might be able to give you some advice. But when it comes to hammers falling from the sky, any astronomer is more reliable than me." "This is the director's order. When necessary, you, as a consultant, must obey the orders," Coulson said awkwardly but politely. "You don't have to do anything for a public trip to a charming place." "Ha! Do you think I believe that?" Aaron retorted. "Be sincere, Coulson," Tony interjected. "He's not that easy to fool." "This is indeed the director's order. He hopes that you can understand as much as possible about the work of S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, you have the reputation of being a consultant, so you can't have no other connections with S.H.I.E.L.D. besides selling drugs." "Oh," Aaron suddenly realized. "Can I refuse, or can you contact me from a distance?" "I completely understand your concerns, but I hope you won't refuse. This is the safest mission of all," Coulson said seriously. "Even if you can escape this time, what about the next time?" Aaron was silent for a while. "I have to go to my store to get some equipment." "I'll send you," Coulson offered. Aaron made a sound and turned to look at Tony. "Remember what I analyzed on the plane? If the person who robbed Vanke is not stupid, the person who is in danger will be Stark Company. But if the person who robbed Vanke is an idiot, then the person who is in danger is Tony Stark himself." "Do you think Justin Hammer is an idiot?" "You mean Ivan Vanko will attack me directly?" Tony frowned. "Just like in Monaco. It's very possible, so you'd better be careful next time." Gaius Pepsi House. Aaron left Coulson outside while he walked into the secret room and took out the two weapons, Bianhua and Shuguang. Something falling from the sky means that it is not from the earth itself. Maybe there is no risk, but if there is a risk, it is certainly not small. Thinking of this, Aaron set his sights on the Xingyuan, but after struggling for a long time, he decided not to use this artifact. After all, his goal at this stage is just to develop in a low-key manner. Even if there are risks, bringing an artifact there would be a bit of a fuss. It's not that he's boasting. With his current abilities, unless a strong man at the level of Heavenly Father takes action, few people can stop him if he wants to run away. "The Master has a new prophecy," the prophecy book suddenly said. Aaron's heart skipped a beat because this book didn't bring him any good news. The Master will be fighting an extraordinary battle and will be on someone's radar as a result. Sure enough, Aaron patted his forehead and then put the Xingyuan into the box. "I hope you won't be needed, but it will probably be a little difficult without magic." After locking the store door, Aaron took Abe, Fox, and the packed weapons box and sat in Coulson's car. "Packed up? Almost." Aaron hesitated for a while and said, "I just did a divination on a whim. Your secret mission is not as simple as you thought." Coulson was stunned for a moment. "What did you see?" "It's a fog," Aaron said enigmatically. "The fortune-teller's divination is not 100% accurate, but if it is a fog, there is only one possibility. It is beyond the ability of the fortune-teller. Coulson, the origin of that hammer is definitely not simple. This matter must be handled with caution and be more careful. Be sure to pay close attention to anyone who thinks about the hammer. They may know something. Also, call more people and bring more weapons." "Is this a suggestio, N?" "No, this is advice," Aaron replied. Aaron said seriously, "Also, fill the car with gas." "Why is that?" Coulson asked. "To prevent any low-level mistakes when we need to make a quick getaway," Aaron replied. Coulson sighed. "I see." The next day, in New Mexico, the first thing Aaron did when he opened the car door was to release Fox from his shoulder. The creature had been cooped up at home for too long, and it was time to let it roam free. Coulson stood on a high vantage point, staring blankly at the scene below. A pit several meters deep was surrounded by people. One by one, they tried to pull out the hammer in the center, but no matter how hard they tried, it wouldn't budge. Tsk! I knew this thing wasn't simple, Aaron remarked, smacking his lips. Everyone can see that this thing is not simple, Coulson retorted, rolling his eyes. He then dialed Nick Fury's number. Sir, we found it. And what do we do now? Fury asked. Seal this place first. My people will be there soon. If you get bored, you can go down and take a look, or drive to the nearby town of Old Bridge for a cup of coffee, Coulson suggested. Aaron raised his eyebrows and then walked toward the crowd with Abe in his arms. He was still curious about the hammer that had fallen from the sky. After all, it was largely the reason he had come to this place. As Aaron reached the edge of the pit, a pickup truck drove over. Two townspeople tied the hammer with a chain, the other end of which was connected to the pickup truck. Once ready, the driver stepped on the accelerator. The rear tires spun wildly, kicking up sand and soil. In this roar, the chain stretched taut, and the car and the hammer seemed to be in an evenly matched tug-of-war. However, a few seconds later, the pickup truck made a loud bang. Its tipping bucket was pulled free by the chains, but the hammer remained motionless. The old man driving the truck stuck his head out the window and asked, "Did you pull it up?" This made everyone laugh. Aaron naturally joined the queue to try his luck at pulling out the hammer. After several people failed, it was finally his turn. He approached the short silver hammer, stared at it for a moment, and then his pupils suddenly shrank. This is definitely an artifact, he thought. The forging material was extraordinary, but more importantly, its surface was densely covered with rune characters. These magical characters were invisible to ordinary people. What frightened Aaron was the person who had enchanted the hammer. As an alchemist, he could judge the enchanter's strength from these magic runes. The alchemy bullets he made were only at the pinnacle of 7 enchantments, but the runes on this hammer were enchanted at least 11 times. This was the work of someone at the level of a heavenly father, and probably far beyond the average heavenly father. Chapter 725, Thor and Mjolnir, an old father's test of his own son. Jane, Daisy pouted resentfully, lowering her voice in dissatisfaction. You're obstructing my pursuit of true love. Pull him down. Jane rolled her eyes in exasperation. You're such a nymphomaniac. I bet someone could take you home with just 2 words and you'd feel like you've hit the jackpot. Isn't it? Daisy replied with a silly smile. With his good looks, I really wouldn't mind something happening between us. Do you even know who he is? What he does? What his personality is like? This is just the first time you've met him. Why would he take a fancy to you? Jane, relying on her experience as a seasoned individual, launched a realistic critique of her nymphomaniac assistant. Daisy proudly puffed up her chest, causing her breasts to surge. Is this enough? Jane looked at the 2 lumps of flesh on Daisy's chest, then silently compared them with her own, feeling a strong sense of frustration arise spontaneously. He is indeed a bit special, Thor said, unconvinced, but he is still a little behind compared to me. I admit it, no one is more special than you, Eric Selvig said solemnly. Surviving a magnetic storm is simply not something humans can do. I told you I am Thor, the god of thunder. I hope you're not crazy. That's a fairy tale I heard when I was a kid. Aaron spat out a mouthful of coffee and couldn't help but cough twice. Thor, the god of thunder, and the hammer in the crater representing his power. So this is real. What's wrong with you? Daisy asked, concerned. It's nothing. I can only say that if someone is unlucky enough, even drinking water can make them choke, Aaron said awkwardly but politely, looking at Thor with a somewhat serious expression. After all, this was the first god he had met since coming to this world. Although this god was now pitifully weak and devoid of divine power, his physical fitness was still stronger than the average person. If he wanted to, he could kill him with 1 finger. I still want to ask, who are you? Aaron hesitated for a few seconds before deciding to reveal his name. Thor was going to find his hammer sooner or later, and there were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents there, so he couldn't hide it. Gaius, Aaron Gaius. Gaius? Thor raised his eyebrows slightly and rubbed his temples irritably. I seem to have heard this surname somewhere. It was taught in history class, but I just can't remember it. It's a pity Loki isn't here. He's read many more books than me. Aaron's pupils shrank as he suddenly thought of something. 2 ancestors. What have you done in this world? Has the name Gaius spread beyond Earth? Thor wanted to ask more, but then Aaron's cell phone rang. Sorry, I need to take this call. Are you done with the coffee? Coulson asked. Is there a problem? Help people move. There's only one astronomy institution in town, and they collected important data the day the hammer fell. Moving? I think it's more like a house raid. Aaron secretly cursed. I won't participate in this. I'm not asking you to get involved, but you have to bring my car over. How to say, there's a lot here. The corners of Aaron's mouth twitched slightly. Where? Not far away, just a few blocks from the restaurant at the Institute of Astrophysics on the edge of town. I know. I'll be there soon. Aaron hung up the phone, put down a $100 note on the dining table, picked up Abe, and turned to leave. I'm not short of money, and I also like small animals very much, Daisy said, looking at Aaron's back with fascination. Jane, you're just preventing me from pursuing true love. Ha, I am really defeated by you. Your lunch, the store manager Iki said, placing 4 drinks and 2 large plates of pastries on the dining table. Thor was not too polite. He picked up his fork and started eating. Gaius, I'm sure I've heard that last name before. So what? Eric said, exasperated. This surname is not common, but it's not unheard of. There may be many people named Gaius, but there are very few that make me feel unusual. On the other side, Aaron drove to the Institute of Astrophysics. Coulson was organizing people to load all the experimental equipment, research data, computers, and mobile phones into the truck. Even the photos posted on the wall were not spared. Bandits. No, they are worse than bandits. Even locusts crossing the border aren't this thorough, someone muttered. There's no way around it. We can't afford any mistakes when it comes to that hammer, Coulson said seriously. The consequences of any errors are unpredictable. It's better to avoid avoidable mistakes as much as possible. Aaron shook his head, dismissing the practices of these official organizations. Maybe it was arrogant and unreasonable, but considering that the hammer involved a god, it was appropriate to be cautious. Thor, the god of thunder, was suspected of losing his divine power. Thor's hammer, which no one could lift, and the power of Thor that could be obtained by picking up the hammer. Aaron seemed to understand why Thor's hammer appeared on Earth. Wasn't it meant for Thor? But things shouldn't be that simple. Odin, the All-Father, threw the weapon and its owner to the same place. He certainly didn't want Thor to directly pick up the hammer and transform back into Thor. That would be too easy. Suddenly, Aaron thought of the enchantment on Thor's hammer. Whosoever holds this hammer, if they be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Could it be that Thor is not worthy of his hammer now? Or can he become Thor again only if he meets certain conditions, and Mjolnir is just a standard and tool for detection? Ha! So that's it. It's a test. Aaron felt he had discovered the truth. Thor was definitely a second-generation god. Even if he wasn't, he was almost there. But this second-generation god seemed to lack wisdom. Aaron got tired of such tests when he was less than 5 years old, but Thor, his real age, was definitely over 100 years old. What on earth is going on? Jane Foster's frustrated voice suddenly sounded. She trotted into the institute, followed by Eric and Daisy. Miss Foster, I am Agent Coulson of Esild. Is it you? Aaron looked at the 3 of them in disbelief. This research institute belongs to you. What a coincidence. Why are you here? Jane asked. Ask him. Aaron pointed at Coulson and added angrily, his immediate boss. I didn't originally want to come to New Mexico, but I'm in a world where I can't help myself, and his immediate boss is, in a sense, half my boss. Then what's going on? Jane pressed. Jane, don't ask. Eric tugged on her arm. This is much more serious than you think. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, this is my life. We are investigating a security threat, and we have to commandeer your records, as well as your atmospheric data, Coulson explained. Chapter 726, Household Affairs of the Gods. Legends originate from reality, page 12. What did you say? Coulson was shocked, but quickly adjusted his attitude. Isn't this a bit exaggerated? This intruder seems to be a little more powerful than ordinary people, but not even as powerful as you. How could he affect the safety of the world? Aaron felt offended. What do you mean? Not even as powerful as me. When did his majestic holy magister reduce himself to being compared to a half-hearted god? Even if this god lifts Thor's hammer and regains the power of Thor, he will not be his opponent. You don't have to believe it, but you have to bear the consequences, Aaron replied. Coulson was silent for a moment, deciding to believe Aaron for once. After all, Aaron had proven reliable in business, and not everyone could hold that hammer. Everyone, stop attacking him and let him in, Coulson said into the walkie-talkie. Including me, sir, came the response. Including you, Agent Barton. At the same time, Thor knocked down 2 more agents. Just when he was about to continue running to retrieve his hammer and divine power, he unexpectedly found that the guards on the road were much laxer. There were fewer people blocking the road, and even if he found them, they chose to ignore him. Loki, Thor asked tentatively, is this your doing? There was no response, but a relaxed smile broke out on Thor's face, seeming to confirm his guess. Thanks, brother. At this moment, he seemed to have lost his sense of urgency and walked confidently towards the central fence. Coulson, who had been paying attention to the situation from above, couldn't help but twitch his face when he saw this scene. After decades of working in the industry, he had seen arrogant people before, but this was the first time he had seen someone treat an invasion as a triumph. Thor came to the end of the passage unobstructed. His hammer was waiting for its master under the heavy rain. Aaron stood nearby with an umbrella, smiling. It's you? Thor asked. Otherwise, do you think you could have gotten here smoothly? Aaron replied. Thank you, but now I have business to do, Thor said, then walked to Mjolnir and stretched out his right hand excitedly. You won't succeed, Aaron said calmly. Thor's movements paused. You don't understand. Mjolnir has been with me for more than 1,000 years, and my relationship with it is indestructible. Wait and see. Then keep your eyes open and watch, Thor snorted lightly and put his right hand on the hammer handle. The next second, his expression changed, and his confident smile was gradually replaced by panic and disbelief. There were bursts of thunder in the sky, and Thor grabbed the handle of the hammer with both hands, stamped his feet on the ground, and screamed with force. But even with veins popping out in both arms, the hammer remained motionless. The attempt failed. Thor took a few steps back in a daze, then roared to the sky, venting his dissatisfaction. I told you, you wouldn't succeed. Aaron shook his head, then took out the walkie-talkie. Coulson, ask your people to come and take him away. But remember, no abuse, no disrespect, and try to meet any of his requirements. Can I ask why? Coulson inquired. I'll explain it to you later, Aaron replied, then hung up the call. He looked meaningfully at Thor, who was kneeling in the mud with blank eyes. You need to calm down. Our people will not harm you, but please cooperate. Thor remained unmoved and did not resist as the ground troops took him away. A few minutes later, Thor was taken to a simple interrogation room, and Coulson stood opposite him expressionlessly. It hurts that you're comparing my people, some of the most highly trained professionals in the world, to minimum-wage supermarket security guards. In my experience, it takes someone with similar training to defeat them like you did. Tell me, where were you trained? Pakistan, Chechnya, or Afghanistan? You look more like a mercenary. Where are you from? South Africa. Some organizations will spend a lot of money to hire outstanding mercenaries like you. Who are you? Thor remained silent from beginning to end, just looking at Coulson quietly. Coulson was not angered by his attitude. He was a tough guy, but S.H.I.E.L.D. had to deal with a lot of tough guys. They were not the police. They were professionals in extracting confessions through various means. We're good at getting the information we want, no matter what, Coulson said. Beep, beep. Coulson's communicator suddenly rang. He glanced at Thor and said, Don't run around, before walking out. How was the trial? Aaron asked with a meaningful smile. He didn't say a word, and to be honest, I couldn't see him having anything to do with the safety of the world, Coulson replied, shrugging. Mentally, Aaron scoffed. The interrogation room was made of soundproof materials, so outsiders could not hear the sounds inside. However, Aaron had some expertise in lip reading, even without magic. Coulson's logic was clear from beginning to end. It could only be said that Muggles' cognition limits their imagination. Perhaps the security of the world he understands can at most be linked to nuclear bombs. I'm going to take a call first. Tell me what you find when I come back." "Okay, no problem," Aaron replied. As Coulson walked away, a man wearing a dark green trench coat with a handsome face but cold eyes approached. No one around seemed to notice him. Magic? Magic like the disillusionment curse? Aaron's pupils shrank. As the man came closer, Aaron knelt down and picked up Abe, pretending not to see anything. However, the man in the trench coat stopped beside Aaron. He did not look at Aaron, but stared curiously at Abe in his arms. "Hey!" Aaron cursed in his heart, but his face remained unchanged. He even patted Abe's head in front of the man. "You'd better not run around, or there won't be breakfast tomorrow," Aaron said. Abe rubbed Aaron's palm, let out a skillful meow, and closed his eyes. The man in the trench coat no longer paid attention to them and walked towards the interrogation room. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't feel any threat from the man in the trench coat, but he was also unwilling to expose himself to someone who was not a threat. "Well done," Aaron praised. Abe opened his eyes, a flash of wit in them. After a moment of silence, Aaron walked to the door of the interrogation room and observed the exchange between Thor and the man in the trench coat in an open and fair manner. "Loki, why are you here?" Thor's tone became a little excited after seeing the man in the trench coat. Loki, the god of trickery and mischief, the second son of the god King Odin. Aaron raised his eyebrows slightly, becoming more interested in the conversation that followed. "I had to come see you," Loki said in a calm tone. Chapter 727, We Cannot Let Thor Die on Earth. "What will I do if you leave?" Aaron said earnestly. "I know this truth is hard to accept, but it is a fact." Coulson nodded with a heavy heart, forcing himself to remain calm. "If this hammer is really the legendary Mjolnir, it makes sense that ordinary people can't lift it." "But why did you let that Donald Blake touch it? We don't even know who he is. Just like you, there's no information on him in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s database." Aaron's lips twitched as he replied, "S.H.I.E.L.D. can't find me because I'm elusive, always either taking risks or on my way to take risks. As for Donald Blake, it would be a problem if you could track him down." "What do you mean?" Coulson asked, puzzled. "Today, I was drinking coffee in town and happened to run into Jane Foster and her friends. This so-called Donald Blake was with them. I heard him call himself Thor, the god of thunder." "What?" Coulson was stunned, murmuring in disbelief. "Thor, the god of thunder? Does that mean he is the master of this hammer?" "Not only that, he is also the biological son of Asgard's god King Odin," Aaron sighed deeply. "Now do you understand why I didn't let your people shoot? Think about it. The biological son of the father of the gods, the great prince of Asgard, and the highest candidate for the throne. If something happens to him on Earth, I don't know if Odin will send troops to attack Earth in a rage, but none of us will survive. And to put it bluntly, if we can use the lives of dozens of us, or even the entire shield, to quell the anger of the God King, the Earth will be drenched in blood." Hearing this, Coulson had no words to refute. Although it would be frustrating to die like this, no one would feel unjustly accused. "Then why can't Thor hold the hammer? Could it be that your guess is wrong? Maybe he's not the real god of thunder?" "Your suspicion is not unreasonable," Aaron sneered, then changed the subject. "But I would like to ask, can we afford the bet?" "We can't afford the gamble." Coulson reluctantly accepted the reality. He didn't know what the consequences of the God King's anger would be, but he definitely didn't want to experience it. If it involves Earth, Coulson would be a heinous sinner. "It's good to know," Aaron patted him on the shoulder. "We can't bet even if there's a 1 in 10,000 chance. No matter whether he is Thor or not, it is always harmless to let him try. If he isn't, we have nothing to lose. If he is, taking his hammer to summon the Rainbow Bridge and leaving Earth is the best result." "So what's going on now? Is he Thor, the god of thunder?" Coulson frowned, feeling his hairline recede further. "He is." "Are you sure?" The weather forecast was sunny, but when he arrived, there was thunder and lightning, and it started pouring rain. And you've seen his fighting ability. Your people can't stop him at all. Even if these were all coincidences, the despair in his eyes when he couldn't lift the hammer didn't look like he was pretending. Coulson pursed his lips. "Does that mean he is now a god who has lost his divine power?" "That's understandable, but I'm afraid only he himself knows the reason. However, His identity has not changed at all. He is the biological son of God King Odin and the heir to the throne, deeply loved by his guardians. Hearing this, Coulson's face turned bitter, feeling inexplicably grateful to Selvig. If he hadn't taken the people away, they might have tortured Thor to extract a confession. So what if the heir to the throne of the God King didn't have a good impression of Earth? Will he live on Earth permanently? What do you think? Aaron looked at Coulson with a half-smile. Whether he stays for a long time or not, nothing can happen to him on Earth. Even if something happens, it cannot be caused by his death here. Aaron's voice was firm as he continued. To put it bluntly, even if I were to die at the hands of humans, it wouldn't be someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. And more importantly, what is it? Coulson asked, his curiosity piqued. You can't involve me, Aaron said seriously. Okay, Coulson replied, rubbing his temples tiredly. I'll send someone to protect him right away. Protect him? Yes, but make sure he doesn't find out. I got to know him earlier than you did. My most intuitive evaluation of him is that he has a simple mind and well-developed limbs. If he discovers someone is secretly watching him, he'll instinctively think it's hostility. I understand. I'll report to the director as well. Coulson assured him. That's right, Coulson, Aaron sighed in relief. Mjolnir and Thor, the situation is too complex for us to handle alone. Quickly notify Nick Fury and ask him to replace us with a team of agents who are cautious, good at observing people's actions, good-tempered, and easy to talk to. Coulson hesitated. There's no need to hesitate, Mr. Coulson, Aaron said angrily. This isn't about your performance or our personal safety. It's about the safety of the entire planet. Replacing us with a reliable team will benefit everyone. Coulson looked at him awkwardly. It's not that I don't want to, but the agent you described, cautious, good at observing people's emotions, good-tempered and easy to talk to, is standing right in front of you. You? Aaron's eyes twitched, but he had to admit that Coulson's character was indeed suitable for diplomacy. Then let me put it another way. Send me back, Aaron said straightforwardly. I want to go home. At this point, he no longer wanted to care about the prophecy. Even if it was a prophecy, he had to try to fight against it. After all, it involved the inheritance of the throne of the divine domain and the sealing in the god King Odin, the Heavenly Father. More importantly, Asgard seemed to have part of Gaius's history. He didn't care about Thor at all, but he had to consider Odin's attitude. Who knew what the relationship between his ancestors and Asgard was? Was it good or bad? If the relationship was bad, and the descendants of Gaius came to this universe with only the strength of Ya Tianfu, then Odin might seize the opportunity to take revenge. It might be an exaggeration to say that the debts of the father should be repaid by the sons, but it made sense that the debts of the ancestors should be repaid by the descendants. If the relationship was good, it didn't mean he wanted to be noticed by Odin. The instructions left by the ancestors clearly reminded him not to deal with the elderly. Odin was obviously the elderly, and he was an elderly person Aaron could not afford to offend. It's not appropriate to quit midway, Coulson said sarcastically. In his opinion, Aaron was definitely a good helper. At least his reasoning had saved S.H.I.E.L.D. from considerable trouble. So, go home. Don't even think about it. What will I do if you leave? Pull him down. I don't have a deep relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm just a non-staff member. There's no reason to get involved in this muddy water with you, Aaron insisted. Chapter 728, Overestimating S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Limits, Imagination Constrained by Poverty. The next day, Aaron was woken up by his biological clock at 6 in the morning. After briefly washing up, he took Abe to find Coulson. Not here? Aaron looked at the agent in front of him in surprise. Did Coulson leave anything for me, like a car or something? No, he did not. Ha ha! Aaron curled his lips and muttered under his breath. What a shame! What did you say? Coulson walked over, his expression as normal. You're not scolding me, are you? How is that possible? Aaron replied with a forced smile. I just suspected that you didn't want me to leave, so I planned to drive a car away later and have this agent tell you. How can you not trust me? Coulson said angrily. I do want you to stay and help, but I wouldn't use such a method. He had originally planned to risk his reputation, but the director suddenly came up with a better, albeit more unkind way. Let's go. I'll see you off. I judged a gentleman with a villain's heart, Aaron said sheepishly. Come and pick up the hair growth potion from my store next week. I'll give you a 50% discount. I hope you're still alive after the hammer incident. Good luck. Coulson smiled and said nothing, starting the car and driving towards Old Bridgetown. Aaron watched the scenery outside quickly retreat, feeling that he was getting further and further away from danger and exposure. His mood became slightly more relaxed. Almost an hour later, just as the car was driving into the town of Old Bridge, Coulson's cell phone rang. He answered the phone naturally, and then his expression changed noticeably. Okay, I understand. What happened? Aaron asked. You might not believe it, Coulson said awkwardly. A military exercise is covering the only way we can go back. What? It's not that we can't go back. We just have to wait 2 or 3 days longer. Ha ha! Aaron rolled his eyes. Brilliant. So brilliant. To keep me in this crappy place, S.H.I.E.L.D. actually cooperated with the military. No, there is no such thing. This is really just a coincidence. Your hair growth potion is gone. Ah? Coulson subconsciously touched his forehead, a feeling of loss spreading from the bottom of his heart. Ah, what? Are you still embarrassed? Let me tell you, don't ask for a 50% discount. If you dare to ask again, I will give you a fracture. But it really has nothing to do with me. I called the director last night, and he approved it very simply. He was worried that something bad would happen if you stayed. Ch! Do you think I will believe it? Aaron looked at him with a sneer. I should have retreated overnight last night, but I didn't expect that I still overestimated the lower limit of your shield. What a loss. In order for me to stay, you can make up excuses like military exercises. We really didn't. You don't need to explain. I understand everything, and I believe you also understand that I understand everything, Aaron interrupted impatiently. So be simple and be honest. Tell Nick Fury I'm getting paid twice, 10 times, no, 100 times. Coulson was surprised. You mean 10 million? That's the basic salary, Aaron emphasized seriously. The basic salary before the incident is over. I don't know what will happen next, but I must prepare for the worst. What's the worst plan? Coulson couldn't help but swallow. Thor has been protected by my people. Is there any danger? Naive, Aaron sneered. S.H.I.E.L.D. may be able to protect Thor from being harmed by people on Earth in this town, but what about the Asgardians? The lost Thor is hiding in the atrium. Can you guarantee that no one in Asgard knows about this? And anyone who knows about this, or a god, as long as they have bad intentions towards Thor, the god of thunder, will not let go of this opportunity. This? Coulson was stunned. He seemed to understand why Aaron ran away. It had not been more than 3 days since Thor and his hammer fell to Earth. Even if someone wanted to harm him, they would need time to prepare. In other words, the longer it takes, the less safe Thor becomes. He is now like a time bomb. The exact moment of detonation is uncertain, but the longer it is delayed, the higher the probability of it exploding. Do you understand? Aaron asked. I think I do, Coulson replied with a bitter smile. If this wasn't my mission, I'd want to run away. So, a base salary of 10 million isn't expensive, considering the risk I'm taking is much greater than that. Besides the 10 million, S.H.I.E.L.D. also needs to reimburse me for my losses in this incident. Your bullets and potions? Coulson asked tentatively. Yes, and also food expenses, accommodation expenses, mental damage expenses, etc. Nick Fury should be prepared to pay me well over 9 figures if he's unlucky, and remind him not to think about defaulting on the debt. I'm not that easy to bully. I'll tell him, but isn't 9 figures a bit exaggerated? Aaron raised his eyebrows and pretended to take out a bullet that had been enchanted 7 times from his pocket. The pinnacle of life, its value exceeds 9 figures. Coulson was speechless. Do you think I believe that or not? Is there any way to resolve this matter as soon as possible? Coulson asked. Yes, Aaron said without hesitation. Help Thor get his power back. This has 2 advantages. First, we don't have to take any risks. Second, we gain a powerful ally. Remember what I said about Thor? He has a simple mind and well-developed limbs. He's a very honest person and will help his friends without reservation. Coulson blinked, his heart fluttering for a moment before being defeated by the helpless reality. Helping Thor regain his divine power is easy to say, but in practice, there is no clear direction. Do you have any good ideas? Coulson asked. This requires contact with Thor. I need to figure out the cause and effect of the matter. Aaron replied. What can S.H.I.E.L.D. do? Coulson inquired. Stay friendly and monitor the data. There may be Asgardians visiting in the near future. Report to me immediately once you discover them, but don't contact them rashly because you don't know whether they are good or bad. Mythological stories do have great reference value, but they cannot explain human nature. And keep Jane Foster's experimental equipment and research records. Dr. Selvig and the others are among the few friends Thor has made on Earth. Their friendship will change Thor's view of S.H.I.E.L.D. Miss Foster's experimental equipment is just a requisition, and we will return it to her, Coulson explained forcefully. Chapter 729, Ways to Restore Divine Power, Bringing Friends and Family to Work. Clap, clap. Aaron clapped his hands and said with emotion, I really didn't expect that you would have such awareness. If you do something wrong, you have to pay the price, Thor sighed deeply. Being banished to Midgard for life is my atonement. You may have misunderstood something. Aaron shook his head at him. To be honest, I don't know how to evaluate this. I've met a lot of idiots over the years, but this is the first time I've seen someone as fresh and self-righteous as you. Hearing this, Thor's face instantly turned ugly. What do you mean? Although I have lost the power of the God of Thunder, it does not mean that you can humiliate me. This is not a humiliation. This is a very objective evaluation. Aaron looked directly into Thor's blue eyes and said unhurriedly, You are really stupid. Thor was about to get angry when Jane and Daisy grabbed his arms. Don't stop me. I want to duel with him. Don't rush to take action, Aaron said calmly. I told you that I am here to help you find the power of the God of Thunder. Thor paused, and his tone softened slightly. I have been expelled by my father. I can't go home, even if I find my strength. Expulsion? Aaron sneered. Are you sure it's an expulsion and not a test? Test? You were thrown to Earth by God King Odin, and he sent you Thor's hammer shortly after. Don't you think this is a coincidence? Your father's intention should be to let you hone your character. When you have enough qualifications and qualities, you can lift Thor's hammer and regain the power of Thor. Thor frowned slightly. But Loki said this was my father's punishment for me. He knew I was in Midgard and threw Mjolnir down, causing me to endure unimaginable suffering. Loki? Selvig murmured. If I remember correctly, Loki seems to be the god of trickery in Norse mythology, best at deception and lies. Wait, when did he come to Earth? When I was captured by S.H.I.E.L.D., he met with me and told me some things. Loki likes to play pranks, but he wouldn't joke about something like this, right? Thor's voice gradually weakened as he spoke, and he himself felt a little uncertain. He grew up with Loki. Apart from teasing their father and queen, Loki could do everything. Look, you are starting to doubt yourself. Aaron patted his forehead speechlessly. Let me ask you, is Mjolnir a divine weapon? Of course, it is forged from the core of a dying star and contains extremely powerful energy. Are there many such artifacts in Asgard? Although there are many treasures in Odin's treasury, there are few that can compare with Mjolnir. So in order to punish you, Asgard doesn't even want this extremely precious artifact. Ah! Thor frowned slightly, and after a few seconds, he sat on the chair in despair. Maybe I made a big mistake. My father died because of me, and my mother was heartbroken. Who told you Odin was dead? Loki. Do you believe everything he says? Aaron looked at Thor meaningfully, and his look of disbelief made Thor feel uncomfortable. Loki said that permanent exile is my father's punishment. There is a small possibility that this is a prank, but his father died and his mother was heartbroken. Thor looked stubborn. He would not make such a joke. So you believe that your father, Odin, the All-Father, is dead? Thor didn't answer, just nodded silently. Beautiful. Aaron took a deep breath. Then have you ever thought about why the seal he placed on you is still effective after Odin is dead, without even the slightest weakening? Thor blinked blankly, feeling a little sluggish for a moment. For the first time, he felt that having his divine power sealed was not a bad thing. At least he could judge his father's life or death. Odin is still alive? What do you think? With your IQ, it's really not easy for Odin to raise you like this. Thor smiled awkwardly and wanted to refute. Thor was speechless. Loki, Ely went too far this time. He dared to make such jokes. I will definitely beat him up when I get back. First, you need to recover your powers, Aaron said angrily. He didn't mention that Loki might kill Thor to claim the throne of Asgard because Thor trusted his brother too much. Unless he saw it with his own eyes, he would never believe it. Aaron couldn't explain how he knew so much. He couldn't tell Thor that his eyes were sub-eyes and that he had seen all of Loki's actions at the base. Thor regained his confidence, and the self-blame and sadness in his heart were swept away. Then how should I regain my divine power? There are 2 methods, Aaron said, raising 2 fingers. The first is life-threatening, but has quick results. The second is much safer, but has slower results. Which one do you choose? The first, Thor said. The second, Jane said almost simultaneously. How about this? Daisy interjected weakly. Let's listen to both methods before making a decision. Daisy, that's the smartest thing you've ever said, Selvig remarked. The first one is very simple, Aaron said, taking a snake-shaped object out of his pocket, ejecting a gun, and putting it back. I'll give you a shot directly. What kind of method is this? Jane couldn't help but curse. What if Thor dies? Asgardians' physiques are not so easy to kill, Aaron said lightly. And Odin will definitely not let his son die. The power in Thor's body will be revived in time to save his life. This method is rather rogue. It's equivalent to flipping the table and forcing Odin to change the rules of the game. Otherwise, he will suffer the pain of losing his son. Then it's the second one, Thor said angrily. He still respected his father very much and didn't want to experience the feeling of death. The second method is to give you the qualities of a king. I have those, Thor said without any doubt. Father said that I was born to be a king. Idiot! I'm warning you, don't insult me again. Being born to be a king means that you are destined to be a king at some point in the future, not that you can be a king whenever you want. A king should be broad-minded, have a broad vision, be kind and tolerant, know people well, and be responsible for their duties. He should also be wise and skillful, brave in making decisions, and take it as his duty to benefit and protect his people. As for you, Thor, which of these qualities do you think you possess? Are there so many? Thor asked awkwardly but politely. Just a few more, Aaron replied. How do you know so much? Thor asked. Aaron sat up straight and coughed twice. Because I've been raised like this since I was a child. Chapter 730, The Shameless Thor. The duel seems unfair. Page 12. Your silence tells me that you can't guarantee it. Aaron chuckled, shaking his head with disdain. Because of your impulsiveness, you almost led your good friends to their deaths. Is this the heir to the throne of Asgard? I believe the warriors of Asgard are not afraid of death, but dying in such a meaningless way is truly ridiculous. Thor was silent, weighed down by guilt, unable to lift his head. Even if you had succeeded in killing Laufey and fought your way out of the siege of the Frost Giants with a few companions, returning to Asgard, would you proudly tell your father, God King Odin, that you defended the majesty of Asgard? The war between the two realms would have resulted in countless casualties, but the lives of the people are nothing compared to the majesty, right? No, Thor immediately protested. I never had such an idea. But that is the consequence of your actions, Aaron said seriously. It is indeed a significant matter for a few frost giants to sneak into Asgard's treasure house, but as the heir of Asgard, the first thing you should have done was to figure out the whole story, instead of starting a war based on your own emotions. I already know I was wrong. I believe you know you were wrong, but... Aaron paused, looking at him meaningfully. As someone who has experienced this, I solemnly warn you that some mistakes cannot be made. Loki lied to you, but since you chose to believe him, it means that, in your opinion, his lie could also be the truth. Think about how you felt at the time. Do you regret it deeply? Thor nodded almost imperceptibly. For the first time in over 1,000 years, he felt despair and heartache. Jane, Daisy, and Eric all looked at Aaron in astonishment. They were truly surprised by his eloquence. No wonder he could make a living in an organization like S.H.I.E.L.D. at such a young age. And then, what happened next? Jane asked. Then my father came, riding an 8-legged horse and descending from the sky. He repelled the frost giants who surrounded us and took us back with the Rainbow Bridge, Thor said. his tone becoming lonely. He called me vain, greedy, and cruel, accusing me of disobeying the king's express orders. Because of my arrogance and stupidity, the peaceful kingdom and innocent creatures would face the horror and tragedy of war. He said that I was a disgrace to those kingdoms, to my title, and to the people who loved me. Then he took back my power and banished me from Asgard in the name of the All-Father. You've let him down terribly. I know. What should I do? Stop your arrogance and face the ordinary people around you. Can you be more specific? Live on Earth like an ordinary person. Experience their lives, their joys, and their sorrows. That makes sense, Jane nodded in agreement. Just stay with us for now. Simple. Eric looked at her helplessly, hoping she would think it through. Although Thor is the legendary god of thunder from Asgard, it would be too hasty to just keep him here. Eric, Thor is the prince of Asgard, Jane said seriously. His understanding of the universe and celestial bodies far exceeds ours. He is a living treasure trove of astronomical knowledge. We can ask him to verify many academic problems that are difficult to explain with science. Do you want to throw away such an opportunity in vain? It makes sense, but something feels off. Jane, it's too obvious. Daisy looked at her playfully. Don't think I can't see it. Eric reacted, looking at Jane and then at Thor, feeling an inexplicable twitch in his heart. No way! Could it be that the girl he had watched over for so many years was going to fall for this guy? Your plan is good. Old Bridgetown is indeed more suitable for the novice village of Asgardian princes who lack understanding of the atrium, Aaron said, and then. Aaron shifted the conversation. I'm not trying to ruin the moment, but we need to consider unforeseen circumstances. What do you mean? Thor asked, his curiosity piqued. Do you really think you're safe now? Aaron replied, shaking his head. Don't forget, there's a traitor in Asgard. He sabotaged your coronation because he has designs on the throne. Now you've lost your divine power and have been exiled to Midgard by Odin. You can't protect yourself, and there's no one here to protect you. If that traitor wants to kill you, this is the perfect opportunity. If he misses it, he may never get another chance. Thor's eyes narrowed. Who do you think the traitor is? It should be the person closest to the throne besides you, Aaron suggested. That's impossible, Thor said, his eyes blazing with anger. It can't be him. Don't try to sow discord between us. Brother, Daisy interjected, looking at Eric. Thor's only brother is Loki, right? Yes, the god of mischief, Eric confirmed. It can't be Loki, Thor insisted. He's my brother. We grew up together and have a very good relationship. Anyone could harm me, but not Loki. Naive, Aaron sneered. No matter what you think, the fact remains that during your exile, Loki was the only heir to the throne. You said he came to Earth to visit you, right? What did he say to you? Just that your banishment was your punishment? Thor hesitated, his eyes widening as he recalled the conversation. He said the burden of the throne now falls on his shoulders. He also mentioned that the condition for a truce with Jotunheim was my permanent banishment. Aaron clapped his hands, a triumphant look on his face. There you have it. The traitor is your dear brother. He wants you to stay on Earth forever to prevent you from reclaiming the throne. Thor's face fell, disbelief etched in his features. How could this happen? For the sake of the throne, would he really deceive his own brother like this? Aaron laughed bitterly. Thor, you should consider yourself lucky. The battle for the throne is often more brutal than you think. Not just brothers, even fathers and sons can turn against each other. Loki still has some compassion for you. He could have killed you to remove any obstacles, but he chose to let you live. Should I thank him? Thor retorted angrily. He seemed less upset about losing the throne and more about the betrayal. If he wanted the throne, he could have just said so. We could have competed fairly. Why resort to such underhanded tactics? In a twisted sense, it's a mercy not to kill, Aaron replied. But he harmed Thor, Jane exclaimed, her voice filled with indignation. If it weren't for him, Thor would have successfully inherited the throne, and all the bad things that followed wouldn't have happened. Earth, Aaron emphasized, is the center of the 9 realms. Asgard rules the 9 realms, which means Earth falls under Asgard's jurisdiction. Chapter 731, Arrival from Asgard. Asgard, Rainbow Bridge. Heimdall, the guardian god and gatekeeper who could see and hear everything, glared angrily at Sif and the three warriors of Asgard standing in a row, looking guilty. "Do you intend to disobey our King Loki's orders, break the oath you made as warriors, and commit treason to bring Thor back?" Heimdall demanded. Yes, Sif hesitated for a moment before firming up her resolve. She was Heimdall's sister, and she hoped he might be lenient if she spoke. "Very well," Heimdall said, then walked straight between them. "Are you going to help us?" Fandral asked, puzzled. "I must remain loyal to the king. I cannot open the Rainbow Bridge for you," Heimdall replied, his back receding into the distance. "This guy is really difficult to understand, isn't he?" Fandral muttered. "What do we do now?" Volstagg asked, looking concerned. "Look," Sif suddenly exclaimed in surprise. "Zizzy!" The white current sizzled, and powerful energy activated the Rainbow Bridge. Although Heimdall had left, he had left behind his weapon, Bolt Steel, the key to opening the Rainbow Bridge, and had helped them position themselves. Boom! Colorful light beams shot out from the end of the Rainbow Bridge into the deep starry sky. Unbeknownst to them, Loki was watching this scene from a distance. After the Rainbow Bridge opened, he turned around and headed to the treasure house. There lay an extremely dangerous and terrifying weapon, the Destroyer, which only served the king's orders. With Odin asleep and Gungnir in his hand, Loki was now the king of Asgard. Originally, he hadn't wanted to come to this point, but now he had no choice. For Asgard, for his father, and for himself, he wanted to become the king of Asgard, and anything that stood in his way would be destroyed. New Mexico. Colorful energy beams fell from the sky, leaving an extremely mysterious and complex circular pattern on the ground. When the light dissipated, Sif and the three warriors of Asgard landed firmly on the ground. At this time, all the instruments in the base went haywire. Coulson immediately asked, "What the hell was that just now?" "I don't know, sir. Super energy was suddenly detected and then disappeared, about 15 miles to the northwest." "They're here, much faster than I thought," Coulson murmured. "I just don't know whether they are friends or foes." "Sir, what did you say?" an agent asked. "It's nothing, but we have to go take a look," Coulson said, and immediately drove northwest with a team of agents. Graduate school. Thor was enthusiastically sharing his knowledge with Jane and Eric, talking about the World Tree, the 9 Realms, and the Rainbow Bridge. His explanations could address many of the problems humans encountered in astronomy, although there was a huge gap between magic and science, which was difficult for ordinary people to accept. It could satisfy their thirst for knowledge. Aaron, however, was not interested in listening to what he considered fairy tales. He slowly tasted the not-so-delicious breakfast, contemplating what he would face next and how he could let the prophecy participate in an extraordinary battle, thus entering the sight of some important figures. He needed to achieve this within acceptable limits. There would be bystanders to the extraordinary battle he participated in, including the townspeople, Eschhild, Thor, and even God King Odin, who was secretly paying attention. Magic must never be exposed, that was the bottom line. He could rely on the power of his body and, after revealing his identity as an alchemist, use the 7-fold enchanted bullet as a trump card. But what if this still didn't solve the problem? Then he could only use the artifact tailor-made for him by his ancestors. In this world, no one except him knew the origin of Xingyuan, so he could confidently and boldly fabricate its story. He believed that Xingyuan could solve the problem, but he was always wary of unexpected events. He did have other props, but he needed to figure out how to use them effectively. Aaron sighed deeply, rubbing the holy dragon figurine in his hand with frustration. "What's wrong?" Daisy asked cautiously. "Is the food I cooked not delicious?" It's not bad," Aaron replied, putting down his knife and fork calmly. "At least it's still edible. It's pretty good for a novice." "Sorry, I haven't cooked many times," Daisy admitted, her face heating up with embarrassment. "This is my first time cooking for a strange boy. If you ever get a chance, come to New York and see me. I'll let you try what real delicacy is," Aaron said with a meaningful smile. "For your warm hospitality today, I'll give you a free meal." "Do you have a restaurant in New York?" Daisy asked, intrigued. "No, it's not just a restaurant. It also includes divination, medicine, and recuperation," Aaron explained. Daisy looked thoughtful, then asked with interest, "Can you tell me a divination? I want to see my future love." Every girl longs for love, I understand that, Aaron said playfully, then changed the subject. But no. Why not? Daisy asked, puzzled. Because you have no money. My divination services are based on principles. Fee-based services start at 100,000 RMB, with no upper limit, and accuracy cannot be guaranteed. Daisy was taken aback. What? Is it so expensive, and it's not guaranteed to be accurate? Divination is an exploration of destiny, and the future is not static, Aaron explained patiently. You can't know your future destiny just by paying money. Even if it's only a possibility, some people are willing to try it. Who would spend $100,000 on something so uncertain? Daisy asked incredulously. Shield, Aaron replied, curling his lips. It's Agent Coulson, who confiscated your experimental equipment and research data before. Do you know why I'm here? Because I divined that a hammer would fall from the sky, and he would be responsible for this task. So, magical? Daisy looked at him in disbelief. And Tony Stark, Iron Man. I think you've heard of him, Aaron continued. Did he also seek divination from you? Daisy asked, her curiosity piqued. His bid was much more generous than Shield's. I earned millions from him just from the divination fee, Aaron said. A millionaire, Daisy exclaimed, looking at Aaron's face with surprise. I actually sat at the same dining table as a millionaire. Now he's a billionaire, Aaron thought to himself. He had helped Tony find new elements a few days ago and successfully earned a small fortune. However, this small fortune was declining at an average rate of 1 million per day. If he didn't secure a large amount of extra income within 3 months, he might not even be considered wealthy anymore. Actually, there's nothing great about having money, Aaron said deeply. When you have no money, you can experience the joy of making it, but when you have money, all you experience is the pain of spending it. Chapter 732, Time to Fight and Time to Flee. Boom, 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 a rough knock echoed through the door. Outside the glass door, Sif and the 3 warriors of Asgard stood with smiles on their faces, looking at Thor inside the Institute. I found you, Volstagg shouted excitedly. My friends, Thor laughed, giving Volstagg a hug. He then turned to Aaron and the others, explaining, Allow me to introduce Miss Sif and the 3 warriors. It's unbelievable, Eric murmured. Their costumes look like they're from the Renaissance. Weapons and armor, Daisy noted, silently comparing them to Thor. The prince had been quite low profile when she first saw him, dressed like an ordinary person. As expected, trouble will come soon, Aaron sighed quietly. He placed the backpack he was carrying on the table. Inside were weapons he had prepared in advance, but just in case, he planned to make a few improvised props. I'm so glad to see you, Thor said, his smile fading after a brief moment of excitement. I have a question. I hope you can answer me seriously. What's the problem? Fandral asked. My father, is he still alive? Thor, what are you talking about? Of course the father of the gods is still alive, Sif said, matter-of-factly. He just fell into Odin's sleep and needs to rest for a while. Upon hearing this, Thor sighed heavily, feeling both sad and relieved. Why would you ask such a question? Hogun frowned. Nothing. Loki, Thor and Jane said almost simultaneously. Sif and the 3 warriors of Asgard immediately grasped the key point. Loki came to see you, right? He told you that the God King was dead? Hogun hesitated for a few seconds. Didn't you have any doubts? I did something very bad. I disappointed him greatly, and considering my father's age and condition, Thor said with some shame, I thought he might not survive my mental and physical weakness. Thor, he is your father. You underestimate him too much. Let's stop talking about this. We've all experienced Loki's manipulations, Fandral said half-jokingly. He can turn the truth into lies and make lies seem truer than the truth. But this lie is indeed too much. We'll deal with him after we go back. I'm afraid it's not that easy, Aaron interjected at an inappropriate time. There are people who want to take Thor home, and there will naturally be people who want him to never return. Who are you? Fandral asked. Aaron Gaius, an ordinary fortune-teller. Gaius? Fandral was stunned for a moment. He exchanged glances with the other 3, noticing a hint of scrutiny in their eyes. It seems you have also thought of this ancient surname. It shouldn't be him, Volstagg said carelessly. Gaius hasn't appeared for thousands of years. But the teacher mentioned it in history class, Sif said. That ancestor left a prophecy that his descendants would appear in the atrium and fulfill the agreement with Asgard. Gulp, Aaron swallowed quietly, suppressing his curiosity. He analyzed enough information from these few sentences. First, Asgard's attitude towards Gaius wouldn't be too bad. Secondly, the ancestors left a prophecy that deceived future generations. If nothing else, this prophecy would come true for him. A generous gift crab. There was a saying in his mind about MMP that he didn't know whether to take seriously or not. "Ha ha!" Aaron smiled casually. "It's really interesting. Could it be that my ancestors began interstellar travel thousands of years ago?" "Don't get me wrong," Fandral shrugged. "The Gaius you understand is probably not the same type of person as the one we learned about in history class." Aaron curled his lips and said perfunctorily, pretending to be regretful, "What a pity. I still imagined what myths my ancestors would leave behind." "Thor, you need to come back with us," Sif said. "The God King is asleep, and Asgard needs you. Loki won't let me go back." "Do you need his permission to go back?" Vostag sneered. "It was Heimdall who opened the Rainbow Bridge to—" "Send us to the atrium. He must want you to come back," Aaron said with a hint of disgrace. "If I'm not mistaken, Loki has already taken control of the Rainbow Bridge after discovering you left." "Don't talk nonsense," Volstagg glared at Aaron fiercely. "It's not necessarily nonsense," Hogan said solemnly. "Loki has already met Thor and spun lies to keep him in the atrium forever. With our arrival, his lies are exposed, and he won't let us go back." "Maybe it's still not too late to try," Sif frowned. "We only arrived at the atrium recently, and Loki may not have acted that quickly." Hogan nodded and pulled Thor outside, with the others following closely. "Heimdall, open the Rainbow Bridge. Heimdall, we know you can hear us." There was no response, and the colorful light beam did not appear. "Bad news," Hogan clenched his fist. "Loki controls the Rainbow Bridge." "Are we trapped here?" Fandral's voice was low. "It would be okay if we were just trapped here. The skills of the four of us are enough to make a splash in the atrium," Aaron said meaningfully, then changed the subject. "I'm afraid Loki will send someone to kill you, especially Thor, to secure his throne." Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, a roar echoed in the distance. The clouds in the sky slowly rotated, forming a deep vortex that descended like a funnel. Boom! The ground vibrated slightly, and everyone's heart skipped a beat. "Well, I must emphasize that I am not a harbinger of doom," Aaron said sarcastically. "I warned Thor about this situation before." "Ha!" Volstagg forced a smile. "Asgardian warriors will obey the king's orders, but they would never attack Thor, right?" "That's right," Fandral nodded in agreement. "Thor is much more popular in the army than us. The most they can do is arrest us, so we can go home." Hogan and Sif didn't share their optimism. They knew the approaching forces were malevolent. Whether they came to capture or kill, Loki could not succeed. "Innocent," Aaron chuckled, shaking his head. He turned and walked into the research institute. "If you don't want to be caught without mercy, prepare to fight. If you don't want to be implicated in the battle, just run away." He sat back in his chair, unzipped his backpack, and took out the flintlock Higambana and the pistol Shuguang. The bullets were filled with 5 times the enchantment, but lacked magical power. Their effectiveness was limited, but they were enough to kill ordinary Asgardians. "Get ready to fight," Sif said, wiping her sword nonchalantly. "I hope there won't be too many of them." Chapter 733, The Power of the Destroyer Armor, and the Consciousness of Sacrificing for Others. Help Thor regain the power of Thor. Completing the mission rewards 1,200 magic points. There is no penalty for mission failure. Accepted. Victory over the Destroyer. Completing the mission will reward you with 1,500 magic points. There will be no penalty for mission failure. Do you accept it? Aaron's face couldn't help but twitch slightly as he looked at the mission panel. Helping Thor regain the power of the God of Thunder wasn't particularly difficult. It would just require some time to let him complete the test or push him to the edge of life and death. But defeating the Destroyer, that was definitely a different story. He didn't know exactly how strong the armor of God King Odin was, but the fact that Loki sent it to hunt down Thor and others who had lost their divine power was a good indication of its strength. Although, according to Volstagg, the Destroyer is not a match for Thor, the God of Thunder, it would naturally not be a match for his Holy Magister. But the problem was that he couldn't use magic. With only a few weapons and improvised magical props, it would be a tough battle, and it would be hard to explain afterward. A guy who couldn't be defeated by everyone present together was destroyed by Aaron Gaius? That seemed inconsistent with the persona of an ordinary person. How is the host considering it? The system asked impatiently. This is a rare, high-reward mission. Can you make some changes? Aaron asked tentatively. For example, if I help others defeat the destroyer, the task rewards can be slightly lowered. I don't mind. Unfortunately, once a mission is published, it cannot be changed. The host can choose to accept or reject it. Phew! Aaron took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Accept. A wise decision. Boom! Boom! The destroyer walked into the town step by step, its footsteps hitting everyone's hearts like a hammer. Its face emitted a continuous high-temperature beam, destroying all the houses and vehicles along the way, and the sound of explosions was endless. Who is the agent who just reported? Coulson's face was heavy. This guy is over 2 meters tall. The two of us combined are not as tall as him. I really admire your mentality. You still have the heart to joke at this time. Coulson rolled his eyes at Aaron speechlessly. My mentality is far different from yours. Sir, we are within range, said an agent who was observing the situation on the rooftop with a telescope. Follow my order and fire. Coulson gave the order, signaling his agents to shoot. Firstly, it was to test the destroyer, and secondly, it was also to show these Asgardians that the Earth now is different from what it was thousands of years ago. The era when gods were superior has passed, and human beings' current force is not incapable of causing harm to gods, even if it is limited damage. However, how can ordinary weapons pose a threat to the God King's armor? Although no one was wearing it, the remotely controlled destroyer was just a showpiece, but it depended on who the opponent was. Densely packed bullets hit the destroyer's body made of uru metal, and had no effect at all except for a crackling sound. No, it can't be said that it had no effect. At least it had been successfully provoked. The destroyer looked at the source of the gunfire and quickly locked onto its target. The armor on its face quickly opened, revealing a crazily surging orange-red energy. Everyone, get out of the way! Boom! The orange-red light beam swept across as the destroyer rotated. The rooftop, bulletproof vehicles, and walls used by the agents for cover exploded one after another. Coulson's carefully arranged defense line collapsed in an instant. It seems useless, right? Volstagg joked, then patted the axe in his hand. You have to rely on this at critical times. Coulson was also speechless. He seemed to understand why the director had been working on more powerful weapons, even if the stability of the weapons was difficult to control. Dare to love because gods fight, and mortals can only watch from the sidelines. Aaron decisively dragged Jane Foster and the others behind a wall to hide. If you can't beat him, don't stand outside. Are you afraid the destroyer won't see you? Sorry, I'm just a little distracted, Coulson said, forcing himself to calm down. I've never seen bullets fail to break through defenses. This is the case with Iron Man's armor, but the destroyer, probably even cannonballs, can't damage it. Maybe missiles can, but they won't be of much use. Some knowledge shows that the body composition of the destroyer is an extremely special kind of metal, and its defensive properties and energy-carrying properties are simply not comparable to materials on Earth. However, I do have something that might cause some minor trauma to it, Aaron said, then took out something more dazzling than crystal from his pocket. What is this? Thor asked in surprise, and the others stared at it closely, curiously waiting for the answer. It's a knuckle duster made of Asban iron, 400 times harder than diamond. I'll do it, Thor said seriously. Although I have lost the power of the god of thunder, my physical fitness is much better than that of the average Midgardian. Sorry, personal items cannot be loaned out. And, in my humble opinion, there's no point in you getting it, Aaron said bluntly. There are only 2 ways before you. Either go out and commit suicide, or find your strength. Thor fell silent, clenching his fists, lost in thought. Boom! Heavy footsteps approached slowly, and the destroyer destroyed a gas station on the road, appearing amidst the blazing flames. It's our turn, Hogan said. It's much scarier than the frost giant. Distract its attention, Sif said. then turned and ran into the darkness. Although the three warriors of Asgard were under great pressure, they still faced the destroyer without fear. Hogun and Fandral squared off, then nodded to Volstagg. Volstagg took off during a run-up, stepped on the wrists of the two men, and they shot him towards the destroyer with force. For Asgard! While roaring, the heavy axe in Volstagg's hand suddenly chopped down. But before he could touch the destroyer, he was slapped away by the opponent and hit a car hard, making a dull sound. The destroyer stepped forward slowly, looking down at Volstagg, a dangerous orange-red light flashing under its mask. Just when the high-temperature ray was about to be ejected, Sif fell from midair, and the double-edged sword penetrated through the gaps in the destroyer's armor. The long sword penetrated its neck, pinning it to the ground, and the energy under the mask gradually subsided. Volstagg breathed a sigh of relief, feeling that he had saved his life. Sif raised her chin proudly, a smile of triumph on her face. "Did we succeed?" Jane asked in disbelief. "Don't dream in broad daylight," Aaron said, pouring cold water on her excitement. "How could the God King's armor be defeated so easily?" Chapter 734, Alchemist's Equipment. What does this mean for an ordinary person? The smile on Sol's face was extremely confident. Trusting their friend, the three of them genuinely believed he had a solution to the problem. "Let's go," Fandral said, and he and Hogun supported the injured Volstagg as they turned away. After watching them leave, Thor turned around and walked resolutely towards the destroyer. "No, wait, stop him quickly," Jane shouted anxiously, trying to run over, but was held tightly by Selvig and Daisy. Sif and the three warriors of Asgard also turned around, looking at the scene with great worry. Thor stepped closer to the destroyer, knowing that Loki could share the destroyer's vision and hear what he said. "Brother, no matter how I wronged you, no matter what I did to make you like this, I am truly sorry. But these people are innocent, and killing them will do you no good." The destroyer's mask slowly opened, blazing energy condensed under the armor, and orange-red light could be seen through the gaps. Thor was undaunted and continued. "Kill me, and that's the end of it." In Asgard, Loki, who was sitting on the throne, listened to Thor's words and gently wiped his lips, his eyes showing some fluctuation. These should be considered last words, right? It really surprised him that the grumpy, bellicose, and impulsive Thor would have such awareness. After a few seconds, the destroyer's mask slowly closed, the energy in its body gradually calming down, and it turned around to leave. Thor couldn't help but smile. Loki actually didn't intend to kill him. There is no greater good than knowing a mistake and being able to correct it. After returning home, he must beg his father for mercy and give Loki a small punishment, but a severe punishment. In short, there are no irreversible consequences. However, he was happy for only 3 seconds before the destroyer hit him with a powerful backhand. Loki looked at this scene expressionlessly, with mixed feelings in his heart, but his attitude was very determined. Thor had to die to prevent the destroyer from attacking with energy in order to leave him with a complete body, and the gesture of leaving was to keep him in a happy mood before his death. After all, he is the god of trickery. Using this kind of prank to send Thor on his way can be regarded as fulfilling their 1,000-year brotherhood. As for Thor's last words, he can let Fandral and others go without getting involved, but they must stay in the atrium forever. The huge silver arm continued to enlarge in front of Thor's eyes, and he was still in a state of confusion, as if he was completely exposed to his brother's cunning skills. Boom! The dull sound fell clearly on everyone's ears, but what was expected did not happen. Thor was still standing there in a daze, but his expression was a little twitching. The destroyer's arm was frozen in the air, trembling and making clicking sounds. But no matter how hard it tried, it seemed like it couldn't move any further. Everyone stared at this incredible scene with their eyes wide open. Aaron didn't know when he ran to Thor. When the destroyer's arm was about to hit him, he waved his fist and blocked the blow with difficulty. The glittering knuckle duster was worn on his right hand, sparks bursting out when it collided with the silver arm. Thor looked at Aaron blankly. "This is impossible. Even if your weapon is strong enough, you are only a mortal, and there is no way you can resist the power of the destroyer. The potential of mortals is forced out." In order to improve my physical strength, my teacher soaked me in various things when I was a child. To be honest, it's a miracle I wasn't hurt to death, Aaron said with a sigh, while silently adding in his heart that that was just the stage of laying the foundation, and his current physical strength is largely due to food. Click, click, click. The destroyer's mask opened again, and the blazing heat burned the two people in front of him. Gulp! Thor swallowed. You shouldn't have come. Let Loki kill me to end this. To be honest, I didn't want to come either. If you were an Asgardian princess, I wouldn't mind saving a beautiful lady, but you, simple-minded, well-developed limbs, blind and stupid. Is now the time to talk about this? Aaron raised his head and blinked at the energy beam aimed at him, ready to burst out. It certainly doesn't seem like the right time. Hum. Orange-red light beams shot out. At this critical moment, Aaron kicked Thor to a safe distance, then controlled his body to lean back. The energy beam almost grazed his scalp and shot into the ground. There was an explosion, and Aaron was engulfed by a powerful shockwave. No, Thor cried out in grief, feeling guilty for having implicated an innocent man. The destroyer did not look at the explosion scene, but slowly turned its head towards Thor. Brother, you shouldn't kill innocent people indiscriminately, Thor said angrily. He asked for it, and I didn't want to do anything to him. Loki was also a little speechless. He didn't expect that an ordinary Midgardian would dare to stop the destroyer, let alone block its physical attack. This was indeed unbelievable, but in his opinion, it was all thanks to the finger tiger. Otherwise, all the bones in Aaron's body would have been shattered if the destroyer had slapped him. I have to collect the loot later. At least the finger tiger piece looks pretty good. But now, getting Thor on his way is the most important thing. The orange-red energy gathered again, but before it could be released, its jaw suffered a huge impact. The massive body took 2 steps back, and powerful energy shot high into the sky. What? Loki frowned on the throne. Through the destroyer, he could see who had just attacked it. The Midgardian was not killed in the explosion and seemed to be unscathed. How did you do it? Thor asked in shock. Aaron took a breath of the not-so-fresh air filled with thick gunpowder smoke and pulled open his left sleeve, revealing a string of exquisite bracelets. An alchemist without a defensive weapon is not a qualified alchemist, but I only have this one now, and it consumes 1/3 of the resources my teacher left me, Aaron said half-truthfully. He knew in his heart that besides the people present, there were others watching the situation. Those people were the ones he was on guard against, and they were really hard to deceive. At the same time, he also felt some physical pain. The Moonstone bracelet was a defensive weapon that he had finally refined, but just now it was barely able to withstand the impact of the explosion, and cracks appeared in one of the moonstones. Although this bracelet is composed of 36 moonstones, it is not unacceptable to scrap 1 or 2 moonstones, but the scrapping efficiency is not too high. It is estimated that by the time he finishes defeating the destroyer, this defensive weapon will be half useless. But there was no time to worry about that now. It was more important to complete the task. Don't be in a daze here. Run away, Aaron said to Thor. Chapter 735, The Second Round Without Martial Ethics, The Deep Fatherly Love of the God King, page 2. Are we still alive? Daisy asked uncertainly as she climbed up from the ground. Probably, Coulson murmured. But how did we survive? Loki's goal succeeded, Hogan said, looking at the ground with a complicated expression. He saw the moonstone bracelet lying quietly in front of them, its 36 moonstones all covered with cracks, almost none intact. When everyone saw it, they seemed to understand why they were not dead. This magical weapon had saved their lives. Aaron threw it over, then he. Daisy began, but was interrupted by the sudden sound of bullets hitting metal. Aaron emerged from behind a wall, looking somewhat embarrassed. He had put away the Bianhua and was now holding a black revolver in his hand. I won't call you despicable or shameless. If I were in your position, I might be more despicable than you, Aaron said lightly. The destroyer turned to look at him, and without much hesitation, the energy under its mask began to gather again. No, Loki, stop, Thor shouted loudly. Your target is me. You can't implicate innocent people. Shut up, I'll deal with you later, Loki cursed in annoyance, ignoring Thor. Instead, he looked at Aaron meaningfully, wondering how an alchemist without a defensive weapon could deal with the destroyer's attack. Impatient, Aaron sneered, curling his lips. He flicked open the barrel of the snake eater, revealing 5 golden bullets and an empty slot. He decisively took out a bullet that was nearly 8 times enchanted and filled with magic power from his pocket and pressed it into the barrel of the gun. The defensive weapon was gone. To better fit the character of an alchemist, he could only try the strongest offensive weapon. Almost at the moment the destroyer shot out the energy beam, Aaron pulled the trigger. The golden bullet rotated rapidly in midair, and a pale golden cyclone appeared directly in front, colliding with the energy beam released by the destroyer. The bullet shattered instantly, and the golden cyclone turned into a pale golden unicorn shadow. Roar! The unicorn shadow roared and rushed towards the destroyer. The shadow consumed the energy released by the destroyer, becoming more and more transparent as it advanced. Just when it was about to disappear, it successfully jumped into the destroyer through the mask. Boom! The destroyer flew out upside down, and an even more violent explosion sounded within its body than before. It seemed severely overloaded. Its body expanded little by little, and bright sparks continued to appear in the gaps. Finally, it calmed down, twitching. Nailed it? Aaron breathed a heavy sigh of relief and staggered towards Thor and the others. He felt extremely relaxed in his heart. In this battle, he did not use the 2 temporarily prepared magic items, let alone the artifact Xingyuan. It was relatively easy to explain afterwards. Alchemist? Hogan looked at him curiously. The atrium does have such a heritage, but your ability level is no longer inferior to the top craftsman in Asgard. Thank you for the compliment, Aaron said perfunctorily, then looked at Coulson. The defensive weapon, 500 million. The alchemy bullet just now, 100 million. The 8 alchemy bullets fired before, plus my appearance fee, 100 million. A total of 700 million. Let our director Fury transfer it to my account. Coulson was stunned for a moment, not knowing what to say. The money seemed to be provided by S.H.I.E.L.D., but why did it feel like they were being taken advantage of? Promise him, Coulson. Nick Fury's voice came from the headset. It's not a big deal if you can solve it with money. I'm afraid he doesn't want the money. Coulson immediately froze. Okay, no problem. Aaron raised his eyebrows. Coulson agreed so simply that he could raise the price appropriately in the future. That's 700 million, Daisy murmured in disbelief. When did money become so worthless? I want to know too, Jane said. She stared blankly. He had always paid little attention to money, but the mention of a 9-digit sum still had a huge impact on her. I've used up the only defensive weapon and the offensive weapon that I painstakingly refined over a long period. This is an unbearable loss for an alchemist. Moreover, refining a magic weapon consumes a lot of resources, so my charges are quite reasonable, Aaron explained seriously. He then picked up the nearly destroyed moonstone bracelet from the ground, his eyes full of regret. It can't be repaired. When we get back, we can try to extract the remaining materials inside and maybe use them again. Coulson's mouth twitched. He wanted to say that S.H.I.E.L.D. should have bought this bracelet for 500 million. But then he thought about it. Aaron was already with S.H.I.E.L.D., so there was no need to do anything extra. Coulson consciously gave up his begging and turned his attention to the smoking destroyer. According to the director's logic, this should be regarded as S.H.I.E.L.D.'s trophy. Coulson, put away your dangerous ideas, Aaron reminded angrily. This thing has an owner. If its owner is unhappy, there will be serious consequences. Coulson smiled bitterly and stopped talking. He was indeed a bit greedy. Detaining the destroyer would be like slapping the god king Odin in the face. This time, he should be satisfied with the friendship of Thor and Asgard. Loki was sitting on the throne, admiring the expressions of everyone who had survived the disaster, with a hint of amusement on his lips. He gently raised the eternal spear in his hand and struck the ground 3 times. As the sound of dong 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 resounded in the hall, the offline destroyer slowly awakened, and the orange-red energy burned in its body like a flame once again. Oh! Daisy suddenly saw the destroyer lying on the ground, turning its face, and couldn't help but swallow. It's not dead yet. Damn it! Aaron slapped his forehead. Its skin is much thicker than I imagined. Everyone, I think at this time. Be careful, Thor suddenly yelled and pushed Aaron away. Boom. An orange-red ray hit him, but the destroyer was in poor condition and had much less power. Even so, Thor's chest was severely injured, and his slightly beating heart could be vaguely seen through the bloody wound. After releasing this ray, the destroyer's mission was completed and its visor closed. It might have been completely offline, or Loki might have given up his plan to continue attacking others. Oh my God! Jane hurried to Thor, looking at him worriedly with tears in her eyes. Sif and the three warriors of Asgard were also stunned. This reversal was too unexpected. Thor, they belatedly approached him. Everyone was very nervous, but they couldn't say anything. It's over, right? Thor was weak and out of breath. If I die, you will be safe. Chapter 736, Colorful Space Passage, Laufey's Demise, page 12, Asgard, Rainbow Bridge. After Loki saw Thor regaining the power of Thor, he knew that killing him would not work. Thor's combat prowess was not something ordinary soldiers could handle, but Loki wasn't too worried. As long as the Rainbow Bridge was still under his control, Thor and his allies would be trapped in the atrium, unable to do anything. What he had to do now was secure the throne and make Odin proud of him when he woke up. Even if Thor returned to Asgard in the future, it would be difficult to shake Loki's hold on the throne. To achieve this, he needed a significant stepping stone. Click! Loki inserted the Eternal Spear into the switch of the Bifrost. It was the only key that could open the Bifrost besides the weapon bolt steel of the gatekeeper Heimdall. White currents danced crazily, and a colorful energy beam shot into the void from the end of the Rainbow Bridge. After a while, heavy footsteps echoed on the Rainbow Bridge. Laufey, the king of frost giants, led a dozen frost giants to the land of Asgard. Loki pulled out the Eternal Spear and said expressionlessly, "Welcome to Asgard." Laufey smiled coldly, his scarlet eyes flashing with murderous intent. Loki had reached a cooperation with Jotunheim in advance. He came to Asgard as an invader to kill the sleeping Odin. Loki would ascend the throne, and the reward would be the icebox, the treasure of the frost giants. Laufey knew very well that Loki was using him, and he also knew that his decision would provoke a war between countries, or even 9 realms. But he didn't care. As long as he got the icebox back, he could use the frost energy in it to return to his prime and reach the sub-heavenly father level. As for whether Loki would go back on his word, Laufey was confident it wouldn't matter. Odin's son was not his opponent yet. To put it bluntly, even if he didn't get the icebox, he would still gain a lot by killing Odin. The fundamental reason for Asgard's continued glory for thousands of years was the existence of Odin, the top heavenly father. As long as Odin died, the 9 realms would soon become chaotic. Asgard would be too preoccupied to take care of itself, and Jotunheim could take advantage of this opportunity to fish in troubled waters. Leaving 2 frost giants to guard the Rainbow Bridge, Loki took Laufey and the remaining frost giants to Asgard, Odin's palace. When Heimdall, who was frozen in ice, saw this scene, his eyes widened in fury, and his heart burned with anger. At the same time, he also heard Thor's call and tried hard to use his divine power to break the ice. New Mexico. Thor and the others arrived at the landing point of the Rainbow Bridge, next to the mysterious circular rune. "Why did I come here?" Aaron grumbled as he hugged Abe and got out of the car reluctantly. "We've done everything we can, and the rest is Asgard's family affairs. There's no reason for us to get involved." "The director means that we can learn more about it," Coulson said sheepishly. "Asgard and the 9 realms are too unfamiliar to us." Aaron rolled his eyes in exasperation. "Then just come. Why are you dragging me along? I'm not as good as you in this regard, so those who can do more work, as the saying goes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility." "Shh! Go ahead and lie to those 3-year-olds with that," Aaron sneered. "The education I received since I was a child is refined egoism. Moral kidnapping on me? Sorry, I have no morals. You can't kidnap me." Coulson pursed his lips, the friendly smile on his face undiminished. "Let's add more money. 1 million. "Are you insulting me? Am I the kind of person who is greedy for money?" Aaron snorted coldly, then changed the topic. "I do it purely for academic research. Alchemy and medicine don't come cheap, but let me be clear. Unless they can't go back, we won't learn any valuable information." Coulson smiled noncommittally. As the director said, anything that can be solved with money is no big deal. Thor stood at the edge of the rune, his eyes filled with determination. On the circular rune, Thor looked up at the sky, calling Heimdall's name repeatedly, but there was no response. Sif and the three warriors of Asgard stood aside, waiting anxiously. Ahem! Everyone, I think you need to prepare for the worst, Aaron said, somewhat inappropriately. And what is the worst-case scenario? You cannot return to Asgard, and Loki succeeds in ascending to the throne. That's a good joke, Fandral retorted. Don't be afraid of 10,000 possibilities, just be afraid of the worst one. Aaron shrugged. You are from Asgard, legendary heroes. If you are unfortunately forced to stay on Earth, I can provide you with some help. The current situation on Earth is very different from thousands of years ago. We know, Sif replied. Asgard has always been paying attention to the development of the 9 realms and guarding their peace. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Great, really great, but I have a little doubt. Why are there so few traces of Asgard on Earth? Most people think you are myths and legends. Do you really want to know? Hogan looked at him meaningfully. The atrium is special. Thousands of years ago, a mage came to the atrium. He signed a contract with the gods to protect it, but was not allowed to interfere with its development. That's it. Aaron nodded in understanding, then suddenly shouted at Abe, interrupting Hogan's desire to continue. He didn't care about mages or anything like that, but when it came to contracts, it was most likely the ancestor of his family. There were many people here, including a senior agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. If Gaius's history became known to S.H.I.E.L.D., it would be difficult for him to live a stable life in the future. Put that box down. Aaron walked up to Abe angrily, picked it up, and put the box with Xingyuan back into his bag. How many times have I told you this box can't be moved around? Heimdall, Thor shouted to the sky again. Can you hear me? We need you. You can't do anything by just yelling like that. Maybe I can help, Aaron said, a little upset, cleverly diverting Hogan and the others' attention. Do you have any idea? Sif asked in surprise. There is one way. Aaron took out a small bottle of light golden potion from his pocket. Lucky potion. Drinking it can improve luck to a certain extent and make all your wishes come true. Give it to me quickly, Thor said, stretching out his hand. The price is not cheap, and although it's only a mouthful, it can help you win the favor of the goddess of luck for a short period of time. As long as we can return to Asgard, we will definitely give you a generous reward. Deal, but what I need are rare materials and medicinal herbs. Aaron threw the elixir to Thor, who drank it without any hesitation. The pale golden liquid entered his throat, and Thor shuddered. His mind felt clear, as if he could do anything. How do you feel? Sif asked curiously. That's great. Thor smiled, then shouted to the sky. Heimdall, go faster. You can do it. Chapter 737. Attitude towards the benefactor. The rainbow bridge breaks. Loki. Thor stood at the door, holding his beloved hammer. Thor, I knew you would come back. Frigga happily stepped forward and hugged her son. Loki's expression changed, and his eyes evaded. He didn't expect Thor to return. Could it be that Heimdall had broken through his ice? Thor looked at Loki coldly, walking towards him step by step. Why don't you tell Mother how you sent the destroyer to kill me and our friends? What? Frigga's expression changed, and she was shocked. It must have carried out my father's last order. You're a great liar, brother, always have been. It's good to have you back. Loki retreated to the other side of the bed, caressing his chest, as if he was genuinely happy for Thor's return. But if you'll excuse me, I have to destroy Jotunheim. After speaking, Loki suddenly took action, aiming the eternal spear at Thor and shooting a golden laser. Boom! The wall shattered, and Thor was blown away. However, he was indeed stronger than the frost giant King Laufey, and even if he was hit by a beam of light from the front, it would not be a big deal. Loki also knew that this could not stop his brother, and immediately rushed to the Rainbow Bridge. The broken ice on the ground and the corpses of several frost giants proved his suspicion. It was indeed Heimdall who brought Thor and the others back. But Heimdall's condition must not be very good. Otherwise, the gatekeeper should be here to stop him. Loki inserted the Eternal Spear into the switch to activate the Rainbow Bridge, simultaneously fixing the Rainbow Bridge's magic circle with ice magic. allowing it to continuously transmit powerful energy. Boom! A colorful beam of light, full of destruction, shot into the void, passed through endless space, and accurately landed on the cold surface of Jotunheim. The powerful energy destroyed a palace in an instant and continued to penetrate deep into the ground. The ground shook violently, and buildings, glaciers, and even mountains constantly collapsed. The colorful beam of light falling from the sky was extremely bright, but it was like lifting the lid of hell. Countless frost giants were forced to flee in all directions. If they took one step slower, they would be swallowed up and buried by the violent energy. When Thor arrived, it was already too late. He looked at the frozen switch and realized what Loki was doing. If he was not stopped, as long as the energy of the Rainbow Bridge continued to pour into it, it would not take long to reach the center of Jotunheim. At that time, the frost giants would explode into cosmic dust as the planet exploded, and the entire race would be wiped out. You can't stop it. The Bifrost will remain open until Jotunheim is torn apart. Thor immediately stepped forward and raised his hammer, ready to smash it down. Of course, Loki would not let him succeed. The eternal spear in his hand fired another laser and knocked Thor away. "Why did you do that?" Thor stood up and asked in confusion. "To prove to my father that I am his good son. When he wakes up, I will have saved his life and killed the monsters of that clan, and I will be the true heir to the throne. You can't wipe out an entire tribe." "Why not?" Loki sneered disdainfully. "Why do you suddenly have a soft spot for the frost giants? You used to kill them all with your bare hands. I have changed." "Me too." Loki threw the gun barrel at Thor's face and provocatively said, "Hit me." Thor didn't fight back. Loki fired another shot and knocked Thor away. "I never wanted the throne. I just wanted to be treated like you." "I won't fight you, brother. I'm not your brother. Never have been." "Loki, this is madness." "Really?" Loki's eyes were red. "Madness? Madness? Please, what happened to you on Earth to make you so cowardly? Don't tell me it's because of that woman." Thor was silent, and Loki immediately confirmed, "Answer. It's true. Maybe, when we end this, I will go and see her in person." After hearing these threatening words, Thor's resolve hardened. Thor finally couldn't hold back any longer. He roared and charged forward, raising Mjolnir. Clang! The two artifacts collided, producing a sound like clashing metal. Thor and Loki began their brotherly battle, exchanging blows in a fierce and evenly matched fight. Meanwhile, Aaron stood by a palace window, gazing thoughtfully at the Rainbow Bridge, which was continuously transmitting energy. Besides teleportation, the Rainbow Bridge is also a very powerful weapon, right? A long-range, star-destroying weapon that can obliterate a planet from its surface to its core in less than an hour. It's truly terrifying. "The Rainbow Bridge does serve that purpose," Heimdall replied weakly. "It acts as Asgard's deterrent to the Nine Realms, but as long as the God King is still here, this deterrent doesn't mean much." Aaron raised an eyebrow, but didn't doubt Heimdall's words. God King Odin, the pinnacle of the Heavenly Father, possessed enough energy to destroy a planet on his own. The Rainbow Bridge was unnecessary for him. There is a significant difference between a Heavenly Father and a mere god. Aaron's current magical power could destroy a country. Several layers of forbidden magic could wipe out a small nation, but to reach the level of world destruction, he would need to become the god of magic. "By the way, I have a small question," Aaron said, looking at Heimdall. "Why did you bring me here? I don't believe it was a mistake." Heimdall hesitated. This was the God King's intention. "Damn," Aaron cursed silently. He had hoped it was a coincidence more than anyone else. He had even decided to dismiss the sounds he heard in the space channel as auditory hallucinations. "Why did the Father of the Gods bring him here?" Fandral asked. "Is it because he's an alchemist? But Asgard has no shortage of alchemists." "There's another possibility," Hogan said seriously. "Gaius, the descendant of that legend." At his words, everyone's eyes turned to Aaron, as if he were some rare animal. Gulp! Aaron swallowed hard, feeling as if millions of wild horses were stampeding through his mind. "Well, actually, I also dreamed of having a great ancestor who left me a rich family fortune so I could win from the moment I was born. But what about me?" I started to fend for myself at 8 years old and followed a damn old man on his adventures when I was 12. It wasn't until he passed away that I returned to a normal life. I can admit that I am a genius, but you can't attribute my hard-earned achievements to some bloodline. That's an insult to me. There seems to be a way to verify Gaius's identity in the history books, Hogan continued, seemingly talking to himself. Aaron blinked, suddenly remembering the family mark on his left arm. This totem was his ID card, and he needed to find a way to cover it up. Chapter 738, Creating a Missing Body and Meeting the God King Odin. Ha-ha! Aaron forced a smile, then looked around at the others in the hall. Please tell me, besides the Rainbow Bridge, are there any other ways to return to Earth? Sif and the 3 warriors of Asgard exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond. It's okay, Fandral said, patting Aaron's shoulder in a friendly manner. If you want to live in Asgard, with us protecting you, you'll have no worries about food and drink. Plus, God's domain doesn't have as many rules as Earth. It's much better here. What's the use of saying it so nicely? Aaron was on the verge of tears. This is an unreasonable disaster. You brought me here without my consent and didn't think about how to send me back. More importantly, when I went to New Mexico, I brought my pet bird with me. What will happen to it if I'm not there? Isn't it just a bird? Fandral said indifferently. I'll give you 2 more. You don't understand. Fox, like Abe, is more important to me than ordinary pets. Maybe there is another way to send you back, but we don't know it yet, Hogan said thoughtfully. Didn't Loki travel to the atrium without using the Rainbow Bridge? The Father of the Gods can send you back, Heimdall said solemnly. Odin can teleport across the stars. Why do you think I'm so anxious? Aaron cursed silently. He was almost certain that the voice in the space channel was Odin's. Odin seemed to know his identity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have mentioned your ancestors left you something. But the problem was, Aaron wasn't prepared for this encounter. Facing the might of the All-Father was no small matter. The precepts left by his ancestors clearly warned against dealing with elderly people, as it often led to losses. Odin was the epitome of such elderly people. Aaron took a deep breath. Asgard's attitude towards him was friendly, and it didn't seem like they meant him any harm. But Odin clearly didn't bring him to Asgard just for sightseeing or to return something left by Gaius's ancestor. There had to be a deeper purpose. And now, with the Rainbow Bridge broken, Aaron had no other way to leave Asgard. Escaping secretly was impossible. Since meeting Odin was unavoidable, Aaron needed to find a way to be safe and at least hide part of his strength. As long as he appeared weak enough, Odin would have to consider his actions carefully. But this might not be easy. Although the Holy Magister could perfectly hide his magic power, Odin was the All-Father. Who knew if he had a special way to see through disguises? Various thoughts rushed through Aaron's mind until he finally thought of a somewhat reliable method. The next day, when the morning sun shone through the windows, several waiters brought in sumptuous food and wine. Try it. It's a peerless delicacy. I guarantee you won't find such flavors in the atrium, Vostog said excitedly, then picked up a small barrel of wine and started drinking. Aaron sniffed the air and knew the food was quite delicious, and the ingredients were particularly healthy and beneficial to the human body. However, they were far different from the dreamy ingredients he usually ate. He didn't eat much himself, so he simply let Abe feast, and his eating speed was even faster than Vostog's. Do the people of Midgard have such good appetites? Fandral asked curiously. You eat at least 3 times as much as the average person. I can't help it. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten for a day. What about it? Fandral pointed at Abe, who was lying on the chair with his belly full. Is it hungry too? Yeah, Aaron nodded, but no matter how exaggerated it is, it won't eat food. Sif laughed dryly. It's the size of a cat, but it ate a sheep. It's natural. There's nothing we can do about it, Aaron replied, a hint of nostalgia in his eyes as he thought of Ab's appetite when he was just born. Back then, Long Zizi was more manageable and could be satisfied with just a few chicken drumsticks. At that moment, the door to the hall was suddenly head open, and an Asgardian soldier walked in. How is Thor? Sif asked worriedly. Sorry, Miss Sif, I'm not sure. However, His Highness was not injured at all. The Queen asked me to convey that you should not disturb him for the time being. the soldier said, then turned his attention to Aaron. His Majesty the King wants to see the guest from the atrium. Please come with me. Looking for me? Aaron smiled sheepishly. May I ask what the All-Father wants from me? I do not know. How is his mood today? Aaron continued, but immediately realized the question was pointless. Odin had just lost a son. It was unlikely he was in a good mood. Okay, let's change the question. Will His Majesty the God King receive me alone, or the God King and God Queen are both present? Understood. Let's go, Aaron said calmly. He silently left the hall and followed the soldier. He didn't pay much attention to the scenery of Asgard along the way. Instead, he quietly used illusions, splitting half of his magic power to create a decoy clone. With Sif and the 3 warriors of Asgard in the previous hall, he was confident he could create clones without their detection. However, Heimdall was also present, and Aaron wasn't entirely sure he could hide it from Heimdall's all-seeing eyes, especially since splitting his magic power would downgrade him from a holy magister to a grand magister. After walking for a while, a person who looked exactly like Aaron appeared beside him, but the soldier leading the way didn't notice anything unusual. We've only been here less than 2 years, and it's already this exciting, the decoy clone said helplessly. Odin's strength, converted into magical energy, is immense, if not 6 figures. Life is difficult, Aaron sighed. You know what to do next. I'll hide and ensure no one finds me, the decoy clone said seriously. But I'm not sure how long I can stay hidden. Our understanding of Asgard is almost 0. Don't worry too much. Although we are both great magisters now, we are still essentially holy magisters. Logically, the All-Father shouldn't be able to see through our magic level. But Odin is no ordinary All-Father, so we must be cautious. That's why I created you. Besides Odin, the strongest person in Asgard is Thor. Without his hammer, he isn't even at the sub-heavenly father level. They can't see through our magical history. Otherwise, Loki wouldn't have deceived them for so long. As long as you don't get spotted by Odin, you'll be fine. Chapter 739, Suggestions for Ragnarok, the Pit Left by the Ancestors. Twilight of the Gods, this is how my father and I deduce the fate of Asgard in the future. But there is nothing we can do about it. We can only delay it, not stop it. Odin sighed deeply, supporting himself with Gungnir as he sat on the throne, looking a bit weary. I have high hopes for Thor. On one hand, his potential is greater than mine was when I was young. He will surpass me in the future. This future may be thousands of years away, Aaron interjected at an inappropriate time. After a brief exchange with Odin, he had become bolder and no longer worried as before. With all due respect, Your Majesty the God King, Thor now relies so much on Mjolnir that he neglects himself. Without that hammer, he wouldn't even be called Thor. This is an oversight on my part. Thor is more reckless than I thought, Odin smiled mockingly. But I can't take it back now. He has too much to do, and he still needs the strength of thunder and lightning for the time being. But what you said makes sense. I will find an opportunity to make him lose his hammer. What did you say just now? Odin looked at Frigga beside him and asked. Thor's potential is greater than it was when you were young, Frigga repeated. Odin nodded slightly. Just like Gaius said, if he wants to reach my current level, or even surpass me, it will take at least thousands of years of accumulation of divine power. But the gears of Ragnarok will start turning after I die, and Thor doesn't have that much time. On the other hand, I have no other choice. The look on Odin's face became a little darker. I hope Thor is strong, because I want him to be able to protect the children of Asgard after Ragnarok. As long as the people of Asgard exist, no matter where they are, there will be a new Asgard. Destroy and then rebuild. Aaron mused, understanding how difficult this idea was for Odin. Rebuilding a divine domain is not just about finding a place and changing its name. The new Asgard's strength and status will only be considered a divine realm if it is not weaker than the current one. But with Thor's impulsive nature, it is more reliable to hope that the next generation will be more dependable. You never told me this, Frigga said, feeling both resentful and distressed. Since it can't be stopped, why bother letting others worry? Odin said calmly. And as long as I'm here, no one will really believe that prophecy. Fortunately, you are here. Odin looked at Aaron, a gleam of light blooming in his left eye. the successor of the Gaius family. Aaron's heart skipped a beat, and he instinctively felt that Odin's next words would not be very friendly to him. Before Mr. Horn left our universe, my father and I asked him about Ragnarok. What did he say? Mr. Horn's answer impressed me deeply. Odin seemed to recall something, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. He said he didn't believe in fate and gave me an example that I couldn't refute. Asgard will be destroyed in the hands of the fire giant king, so destroy Asgard before him so that the prophecy cannot be realized. Ha ha! Aaron's mouth twitched. I can only say that he is indeed my ancestor. Actually, this is just a joke. We can't destroy our home because of a prophecy. Mr. Horn knew this too and had some real advice afterward, Odin said slowly. Since the prophecy cannot be avoided, then we must find a way to minimize the loss. Build a second kingdom in Asgard, give it a new name, and move the people there one after another, bringing with them enough resources and treasures. In this way, after Ragnarok, even if Asgard is destroyed, the Asgardians can have a new start more easily. But my father did not adopt this suggestion. It is not easy to establish a new country. The resources, environment, and population have to be started from scratch. Moreover, the emergence of a new country means the beginning of the division of the tribe. More importantly, we don't know whether that prophecy will incidentally lead Surtur to destroy the second kingdom of Asgard. It's true that when it comes to an ethnic group, you can't gamble and you can't afford to lose, Odin said. Mr. Horn's second suggestion was to distribute the people of Asgard across different locations. He said that eggs should not be put in the same basket. We adopted this suggestion. Asgard maintains peace and balance in the 9 realms, and a considerable number of its people have settled on other planets as warriors. Some are within the 9 realms, and some are outside. They can return at any time as long as the king calls them. No wonder, Aaron suddenly realized. I always wondered why the legendary Asgard's population seemed much smaller than I thought. No more than 1 million, which is normal for a divine realm, Odin replied with a calm smile. And the strength of a country is not determined by the number of its people. There was some truth to Odin's words. Less advanced countries rely on their numbers, slightly stronger countries rely on technology, and divine kingdoms like Asgard rely on the strength of their warriors. A heavenly father stands there, marks out a random territory, and calls it the kingdom of God. Aaron suddenly thought of his own spiritual space. Yake and the others were still working hard to establish his kingdom of God. After this, Mr. Horn left a prophecy, Odin continued. His descendants will come to this universe one day in the future, and he will be the key for Asgard to survive Ragnarok. Aaron almost spat out a mouthful of water. No wonder his ancestors asked him to try not to reveal his identity. Thor can only deceive his father, but Gaius's ancestors deceived all future generations. Isn't this kind of deception too obvious? Ha! Aaron forced a smile. I'm sorry, Your Majesty the God King. My ancestor may have been drunk at the time. I'm very sure that he wasn't drinking at the time, Odin said with a smile. And Mr. Horn's drinking capacity is extraordinary. He can drink more than 10 people by himself. Aaron smiled and said nothing. Every Gaius who went out to practice had the experience of soaking in a wine cellar. But he couldn't deal with the matter of Ragnarok. He wasn't foolish enough to bear the fate of Asgard on his shoulders just because of Odin's few words. He wasn't that free yet. Your Majesty the God King, please excuse me. Did my ancestors make any contract with Asgard? Contract? Odin raised his eyebrows slightly. There is no such thing. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief, though his face remained unchanged. Then I'm very sorry, Your Majesty. This may disappoint you, but there is nothing I can do to help you with Ragnarok. The most important thing for the Gaius family is the contract. If he didn't leave any certificate, it means that I have enough autonomy. Aaron's face twitched unconsciously as he spoke. He seemed to understand why his ancestor Horn left such words as, live according to your own ideas and don't care about things you don't want to deal with. No one can force you. Chapter 740. Previous generations dug holes, later generations filled them. Aaron felt a numbness creeping over him, a sense of absurdity that he was somehow the enemy of the entire world. The first ancestor had played a high-stakes game, but that game was far removed from his current concerns. It was the second ancestor's actions that left him with a mess to clean up. If he ever had the chance to meet Ancestor Horn, he would demand to know why he chose to play with seals instead of simply eliminating the threats. Why couldn't he have been more low-key? Aaron knew he had to remain inconspicuous. Gaius's identity must not be revealed until he had amassed enough power. He had initially thought that only a few high-level individuals would pay attention to him, but now it seemed he had underestimated the situation. Enemies could be lurking at every level. "You don't have to worry too much," Odin said with a smile. Mr. Horn had many friends as well. "That's not reassuring," Aaron interrupted, raising his hand. "The friends of my ancestors are not necessarily my friends, but the enemies of my ancestors are definitely my enemies." Odin looked at him with admiration. "You are more sensible and cautious than I thought." "Thank you for the compliment," Aaron replied humbly, then asked in a serious tone, "Aside from you and the Queen, who else knows my identity?" "It's just the two of us for now, but we can't be sure if there's anyone else. We'll keep it a secret," Odin assured him. "Thank you." Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. "Then, can His Majesty the God King send me back to Earth?" "Are you leaving now?" Odin raised an eyebrow. "You can stay for a while. Asgard's collection of books could be of great help to you." Aaron smiled bitterly. "I'm not in the mood to learn anything right now." "All right then, come to the Rainbow Bridge in the afternoon, and I'll take you back," Odin said. "Before that, you can come to the treasure house and pick out a treasure." "Isn't that inappropriate?" Aaron said, feeling a bit embarrassed. "I haven't earned any merit to deserve a reward." "Don't be so modest. Mr. Horn was of great help to Asgard, but he left suddenly, and we didn't have time to prepare gifts. Now that his descendant is here, this compensation naturally falls to you. Moreover, your help to Thor on Earth was significant, and Asgard must express its gratitude," Odin said righteously. "Don't refuse, and don't overthink it. Just consider it a way to save face for this old man, all right?" Aaron was speechless, but managed a sheepish smile. "Then it's better to accept graciously." After leaving the palace, Aaron walked back expressionlessly, silently transmitting the memory of his conversation with Odin to his other self. "What a trap!" His other self almost yelled. "I'm afraid we can't stay on Earth anymore." "Go to other planets? That's not feasible," Aaron responded. "The Holy Magister can survive in the universe, but finding a planet with enough civilization and suitable for our survival is not easy. Although the mess left by our ancestors is troublesome, it's not unsolvable. But if we venture into the starry sky, we'll be wandering without coordinates, not knowing if we'll encounter a strong enemy with a grudge against Gaius." "Can't we leave Earth before becoming the god of magic?" his other self murmured. "But by the time we reach that level, there won't be any need to leave Earth. So this is a trap. Now I seriously doubt that the ancestors only sealed the threats instead of killing them just to create some fun for future generations. But we are so unlucky." Aaron was on the verge of tears. "In other families, they say, the predecessors plant trees and the descendants enjoy the shade, but here, the predecessors dig holes and the descendants fill them in." "Where are you now?" he asked. "In the fast-flowing river. I used a water-avoiding spell to create a barrier so that no one would notice," came the reply. "There's something I need you to do." "I know, I'm doing it." The missing body reached into a pace magic circle and took out Captain Jack's compass. Except for the Rainbow Bridge, there are no other channels to leave Asgard. The pointer rotated crazily, gradually slowing down and swinging back and forth between several directions. "There really are," the missing body smiled. "And there are more than one. The safest passage," the thinking body pondered. The pointer on the compass had not changed, which meant that every passage was either not dangerous or equally dangerous. In the main hall of the Immortal Palace, Odin sat on the throne with a relieved smile on his face. "As expected of a descendant of Mr. Horn, such a talented young man," he exclaimed. "Aaron Gaius," Frigga murmured. "Does he really have the ability to save Asgard?" "Not now, but he might in the future," Odin said firmly. "My father once evaluated Horn Gaius. He has the wisdom of a fox and the viciousness of a wolf, but he also has a kind heart. Vengeance must be avenged. The first two Gaius are both legends of the multiverse. How can their descendants be any different?" 19 years old, close to the magic power of the All-Father, Odin said with some envy. Compared to Asgard, Gaius is the real god. Such talent is indeed enviable, Frigga nodded. My queen, you underestimate him too much. Do you think what I saw is the whole truth? Odin smiled wryly. I learned about some of Gaius's genius from Mr. Horn. They may have different personalities, but Gaius, who is sent to other worlds for experience, has an upper limit no lower than that of the All-Father. Each of them has been professionally trained and has mastered many survival skills. In addition to strictly abiding by the spirit of the contract, their biggest characteristic is their hidden clumsiness. In other words, I see only what he wants me to see, and Gaius always has more cards than you think. Can't you see through it either? Frigga asked in surprise. I'm not sure, but his real strength will definitely not be lower than what I saw. I estimate it to be at least 30% higher than the current level. If I'm not wrong, he is at least on the same level as Thor. Aaron, who do you look down on? After all, strength is secondary to the All-Father, but his wisdom should not be underestimated. I made many attempts during our conversation just now. He never fully trusted me and remained wary. Alert? He doubted the relationship between Asgard and Horn Gaius, doubted whether the prophecy I told him existed, and even doubted whether I had any bad intentions towards him. But he is also rational. He knows what he should believe and what he should not believe, and he knows what he can and cannot say in front of me. Odin said, laughing, such rationality is truly enviable.